one.
So welcome to the Templeton Advisory Committee meeting, September 20th, 2023, here at 6:30. The Templeton Advisory Committee regular business meeting is being broadcasted live on TCTV, Channel 8 and TCTV YouTube channel. Responses will be made and comments on the TCTV YouTube channel as time permits. The agenda and meeting materials for this business meeting were posted to the My Town Government .org no later than 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting laws. The chair reserves the right to add items, to remove items, or to change the order of the agenda. However, the agenda is posted in advance to give the committee and the public time to review the agenda items and ensure the meeting runs within its allotted time. Again, thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. I am calling the meeting to order here at 6:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First and foremost, welcome back, gentlemen. I hope you guys had a great summer. But as you can tell, we need to do some business. Rain. We have no minutes to approve at this time. Any public comments? Okay.
I don't come without
How
talking to
how
y'all.
how long, Jeff? How long are we talking here? Can we give you a time frame?
I'm always
Quick. All right. What do you got for me?
all right. And in case you did it,
Let me
I
take notes.
apologize, but I didn't see it on the agenda. When you're posting your agenda, and you used to do it, is it possible that when you post the agenda, that you could include the items that you're going to use at the meeting, such as like the expenditure
material?
report and all of that stuff? It gives people a chance, if they want to follow along, to see what you're going to be talking about.
Okay, of
And I think it promotes transparency.
course.
My next is a question, since you're the, according to the ATFC handbook and the Selectmen's handbook put out by the various associations. Do you all track free cash as far as where it comes from? And such as how much comes from leftover expenses?
Yes,
How much comes from
cherry sheets.
unanticipated revenue? How much is leftover free cash, et cetera, et cetera? And like in a table form, like a spreadsheet that could be posted under the advisory committee's webpage on the town website. So, people can actually see, because, they see 600,000, 1 million. Where does that come from? And again, I think it promotes transparency and it shows the residents, when you got $1 million, free cash, it's not free, it's unassigned fund balances, but where does that come from and how do we arrive at that number? It's
So
just a thought.
like a ledger, Jeff.
And my last thing would be if you could also post on your webpage, the advisory committee, over there on the left-hand side, we have documents and stuff. When you're in session, when your regular meeting schedule, the monthly expenditure reports, or BVAs as they're called.
Right.
So you could post them there. So again, so people could look at that and track if they're interested. There's at least one person in town interested.
Of course.
I know there's more, but so we could look at that, and because they're not posted on any other place.
Okay.
The quarterlies do, but the monthlies, so you can see, hey, they're talking about they need money for this, or we're going to move money from there. Well, you can go look at it and
Okay.
follow along.
Great idea. Yeah.
I have a question. Would a quarterly table of some kind on the free cash, would that work? On the website, a quarterly table?
Well,
can't
the
do-
monthlies is, the monthlies is, the quarterlies, you're only going to get, like, you're going to see July, August, September, like next
Right.
month sometime. And that's just one, and you can find those, but what about all the other months that you don't get to see?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
my point.
Because on the
Yeah.
quarter it did have the whatever was turned back in from the department heads, whatever was turned back in, which turns into free cash. That was on the last report from the last quarter report.
Yeah. And the Division of Local Services has you
does.
can go on their website and see it, but if you're not a financial document reader and you know all these things, I'm asking, just wondering if there could be like a simple spreadsheet, like free cash breakdown.
Yeah.
I don't know, $200,000 left over from general fund expenses. $100,000 left over from the previous year's free cash that was brought forward. 20,000 left over from the reserve fund. Because if you don't use it, that's what happens
That's
to it.
No, you make a good point, because I've been on this committee now for a couple of years, and I still struggle with the
It's-
issue of where free cash comes from, how much is available. I struggle with that.
And I think once it gets, if you start doing it and track it, it becomes a little easier, like most things. You can find it, but it's the fiscal watchdogs of the community. It's what finance committees are, which is the advisory committee.
Right.
And I just think it would help people, and more information, more transparency, it's a good thing all around. Right.
Well, as Jeff indicated, I can tell you that what has been certified by the Department of Revenue as effective the other day was $674,546.
Yes, I check it every
And then
day
there was
until
a-
it's
I
certified.
think, I don't know if you had the question or somebody else had a question, like, why was it? It was because last year we got like 1.1 million of free cash. And why was it lower? So that was one of my questions too. So I'm glad you asked that question. Basically, good budgeting. That's what I got from the Department of Revenue, was good budgeting. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, that means your department heads budgeted exactly what they needed, and there was not a lot turned back in, or it wasn't turned back.
If that's where it all came from.
Right. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, because I looked at like the different departments, like I'll use the fire department, and they had a large sum of money that was returned, but that was out of personnel because they didn't hire somebody.
Yeah,
So
that's not budgeting. That's circumstances that happened during the fiscal
right.
year.
But if they had that person, then that money wouldn't have been available.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they hired that person. So it wasn't like the budget was on target. The issue at hand was people. There was a lot of people, like even in the highway department, there was jobs that people didn't take. So
Down
that
3, 4,
those
5 people.
right. So those dollars actually get moved over to free cash. So that was the majority, but I understand what you're saying, and I like that idea with the breakdown. So that way the people can understand, like, oh, this came from, the people, all the money that was turned in from the different departments. Anything that was, even for us, like if we had like $20,000 left over, that would have rolled into free cash as well. So where all that dollars came from to get the amount of the 674,546. I think that's reasonable.
So if that's good budgeting, when we have $1 million over, is that bad budgeting?
No, it just means that, like when you said, when you were a selectman and you said, why, when the department heads were turning in like $200,000. Well, why are they turning in $200,000? Why are they turning in $100,000? Why, you know what I mean? And you were like, well, we need to lower their budget, because in the government side of the house, that's what we would do. That's why we look at those numbers. And that's why I looked at the numbers. So if a department was turning in like, $100,000 at the end of the year, like, why?
And just not a one-off,
Right.
a repeat occurrence. If we're
Why?
doing that every year,
I don't want-
100,000, 75,000,
When it's
80,000.
a repeater.
And they're
then
asking for
there's
too
an
much.
issue.
They're not
That-
budgeting properly.
That's correct. And that's why when you brought it up, like, yeah, you're right, that needs to be reduced. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, it needs to be reduced.
That's why we can't rely on free cash, because in a perfect world, if we're budgeting correctly,
Yeah, you
we're,
can't.
we're forecasting our expenditures, and we're expending correctly.
Right.
That that 600,000 is now 160,000.
Right.
And our free cash is not going to be there.
Right.
And it's been on a downward trend
It
since
could be.
18.
But it should be though. I mean, if you're budgeting correctly and you're managing your fiscal responsibilities, each department head, then yeah, your free cash will go down. Because again, they're using their dollars within their budgetary responsibilities. So I think at the end of the day, I mean, that's why it's going down. It's not going down because the town's doing something wrong. It's going down because which also affects, like you said, I think someone said too, about the management report, because, we always look at the 5% of the omnibus budget from the previous year. So, if it can't be the 5%, because obviously we didn't get there, because it's not over $1 million. So how can it be the 5% of the omnibus budget of the
Well,
previous year?
that's what they say you should try to get to. And there's different
It's-
ways to do that.
Right. I double checked that today as well. They do say 3 to 5%. And we're like, we're over three. I know that.
3.48% was this year's.
Right, which is still within the target of, local services because they say 3 to 5%. So I said, well, okay,
Yeah.
as long as the management policies are followed, there shouldn't be any issue.
The actual policy says 5%. The recommendation below that, like in an appendix, so.
Yeah,
But it started out, I think in 19, it was 9%, and then it went down to 7 something. And then it was 6 and 6.4% or something. So it's been downward trend.
Right.
Now this year it went down
Right.
hard, and how much was brought forward of last year's free cash versus previous years, which is also part of the financial management policy.
It is.
So
It is.
anyway, that
You're
was,
right. All right, thank you, Jeff, for your, I'm sure I'm gonna be calling you again for a couple other things. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, how do
Yeah.
we make that happen at the table? Is that a Steve Castle?
With what table?
As far as including a table.
Oh, as far as like doing like a breakdown?
Yeah, how will we get that in the website?
Well, I would have to generate it. I'd have to bring it back to the committee and then we can look at it, vote on it, and then we can have it put on the website. Along with any, the documents and stuff that we use. I mean, I have no problem with that. I mean, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that. Jackie, you have an issue with that?
Posting something on the website.
Right.
In our office does that.
Okay, great. So that won't be an issue. So all the documents that we use, and also all the documents we use, just so the people are aware, if I bring out anything that you don't have, I have to give it to Jackie for legal purposes. So all the documents that are presented here tonight, she has to have a copy of for any type of transparency. So if somebody wants to request those, either by a Freedom of Information Act request or something along those lines, the documentation's there. But I think in the future, if we will work on making sure that this documentation is put online. Okay, make it simple for everybody. Thanks, Jeff. Do you have anything else to add there? No, okay. All right, moving on to the budget versus actual July. That was sent out last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Any questions on that? I mean, obviously, the budget just started, obviously, effectively June, so things look like they're moving in the right direction. But anyone have a question? You got a chance to look at it? Okay, any questions? Any comments?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
So
Same.
I've looked at it, no questions or comments.
Okay.
It's time.
Okay, great. I want to take a motion to obviously accept this budget versus actual for July as is.
So move.
Do you have a second? Motion second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. The budget for section for August has not been published yet, so we're gonna move that to the next meeting. Fourth quarter financial report. Did everybody get a chance? I sent that out for your email. Did everybody get a chance to read that and look at that? Because that had some of the dollars that were returned from the different departments. And had some great information in there. Obviously, it was the last quarter.
Yeah.
So it was the last quarter of the year. So it had like all the closeout data from the year. So everything, I mean, obviously everything from my perspective, I thought looked really well. I mean, all the budgets were, there were, thousands of dollars that were returned, not like 5, 10, 15, 20,000 of dollars. I mean, it was low amounts of dollars that were returned by the department. So that gives me a warm fuzzy because obviously they're working within their budget responsibilities and they're doing the job, which is great. Any other questions on the fourth quarter report? No. Okay. Excellent. Did you have a question, Jen?
Will the FY 23 reports be published on website?
I believe they are on the website already on the select board side, I believe, aren't they? I believe they are already. Okay, recommend plan of action for our current town accountants. I know this is a touchy subject. And we all have our own interpretations. And obviously the people have spoken very loudly to some of us. So suggestions, comments, recommendations. I just need an open forum here. I just need some discussion on this. Mike?
I've voiced my opinion before, but
Voice it again, please, so people can know what your opinion is.
if you're hired for a position and your position requires certain certifications or requirements or schooling, and you don't complete those requirements within the said period of time, then you shouldn't have your job. It was the same when I was in the military. If I got a new job, I had to go to school. If I didn't go to school within a certain time frame, I would be looking for another job. And it's just a simple fact of life that there are requirements with certain positions, and if you cannot meet the expectations of your job requirements, then you have to move on and move away. It's just life,
Okay.
John. It's just the way things are.
I got you. I got you. No,
The arrangement, in talking, I've talked with Adam about this. I've talked with some of the selectmen about this from time to time, and it seems like it's an arrangement. I think everybody agrees that it's an arrangement that is not perfect, but it works. And, the problem with the certification is, that's a major problem. It really is a major problem. But then, we really need a long-range plan. I do think that the accountant position should be a CPA position. That's not a guarantee that the job will be done right or better than it is today. And I think one of the considerations is that if you were to hire a CPA, you're probably looking at $40,000 to $50,000 in additional salary.
yeah, you look about 90K.
You're just looking at more money,
Right.
and we are, I fully agree, with Mike is, you can't get chicken salad if you pay chicken, what.
Right.
But I also, with the budget constraints that we have, to increase the pay by $50,000 or $60,000, which is probably what you'd have to do to get, within the market. It just makes it a very sticky situation. And the only recommendation I can make or suggest is that, and I think Mr. Bennett made it at a selectmen's meeting, is that we need to have a long-term plan. We don't appear to have a long-term plan at this time.
Okay, so long-term plan.
If you don't throw bait in the water on your fish pole, you don't catch fish.
Right.
Simple as that.
Okay, so,
Simple as that.
you
You don't know what's out there unless you ask. Put it out there.
I want to come up with recommendations for the select, again. That do recommendations, and I want to make sure, and I will do the recommendations in writing. So if we come up with a recommendation for the select board, I want to make sure that they clearly understand what the recommendation is, i.e. like 1, advertise the position with an open end date. 2, start shifting, responsibilities to say the other full-time person that's in the office right now, start a slow process of transition, have a transition plan in place. Make sure that they understand that these things need to take place in order to make sure this happens. I know there was some minor, hiccups with bills being paid, with warrants being done. But again, and I also know that I think she picked up another community as well. So I think she's at 5 now, which again,
How much can you put on your plate?
Roger.
Is there an hourly?
One second. Right, John. Yes, go ahead.
Is it a full-time position or are you willing to pay only part-time pay?
Right.
Are we is the town paying for a full-time
No.
position?
We are paying for, that's a part-time position.
How many hours?
I 29 or 25, something like that.
Working very hard.
Right. Right. You have something, Candace?
Paul, are you aware of the situation that's currently going on in that office?
Again, I can't talk about personnel matters.
We're talking about policy and not persons.
I stayed so I was given recommendation last week that I should be checking all of the accountant's work. And I said, yeah, for my department, my department head. And I said, what do you mean? I'm like, she's the accountant. She would know better than me, I'm the commissioner on
Right.
the thing. And that was they said, no, you have to check everything.
Right.
Like, but I'm just saying is right now, they have like a lot of craziness going on in their office because someone's out sick.
Okay.
Not on the ground, it is me things a little bit difficult for the employees in our town.
Okay.
I know, not to knock her, I'm sure she's lovely. And the person that's out, she can't help being out. But her part-time person is out and they're doing the best they can in the town, but I don't think it's something to hide from the town. I mean, someone's out and there's nobody in the department and you got someone coming in temporarily on the night to send her the records down in Florida.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at recommendations real quick as far as what we can recommend to the select board for some type of, some type of action. Again, the recommendation we provide, I want to be specific. I don't want to be open-ended. I don't want it to be a guessing game. What do the advisory committee mean by this? I want it to be specific. So i.e., we recommend to the select board that the job be posted.
With no end date.
With no end date. For 40, or whatever, 40 hours, right? So that'll be a full-time position.
And also there
If-
should be credentials listed. Proper credentials.
If you make it full-time, you're gonna lose your part-time assistant.
I'm not, and then she's full-time. She's also,
We have a full-time assistant and a part-time accountant.
yes. Yes,
That's why the-
so what would happen is that would switch, where we'd have a full-time accountant and a part-time person. Because the accountant's gonna be
Yeah,
more, right,
it's kind of obvious. I
Right.
mean, to say that my assistant is full-time and I'm the department head and I'm part-time, that makes no sense. I mean, I'm just saying, common sense.
Right.
Okay,
okay, so posted, no end date, obviously, again, I don't want to pick on anybody, but
Time in-house.
provide. Yeah, in-house, because I did have the opportunity to take a look. There was a couple companies out there that actually do accounting work for towns. But they are, based on their websites, they're really expensive. There was a company in Canada. I know it sounds weird, company in Canada, there was one in Montana, and then there was one in New Jersey. And, they were, based on what they do and their left and right limits were really specific on what they do. It would be worse than what we have.
we
right
may
now.
just get a CPA or a town accountant that's looking to downsize on the last few years of their career before they retire, and this
Right.
would be the perfect opportunity. Small town, small budget.
Yeah.
Not a big city person.
Right.
You don't know unless you put it out there.
All right, so.
I just-
Switch, yeah, good.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid you're gonna run into the same situation. With the grant writer initially is the top talented people. I mean, you gotta pay somebody enough. A talented person, you gotta pay them appropriately. And I think that there needs to be, some kind of a wage study done to see what the appropriate.
did a
pay
wage
is.
There was
We
wage
did a
study.
wage study.
We just did one last year.
So,
Yeah.
so what's the appropriate pay?
It was-
Somebody with a CPA and.
It was, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe it was 90,000. It was 85 to 95 or something along, it was,
But maybe, Mr. Chair, there
Yeah.
are some towns such as like Ashburnham, they use a small CPA firm.
they do.
She does 5 towns, I think, and I want to say it was around 85,000.
Right.
So.
But that was part-time
But
as
there's
well.
no benefits for nothing. So, and she's certified public accountant and she's experienced in municipal.
Mhm.
Accounting systems.
Right.
So. To me, it's like a mechanic.
Yes, go ahead.
With their weight.
Oh, 1 second, Jeff.
If they'd like to speak, could you have them use the mic?
Oh, yeah, can you come up and use the mic, because they can't hear you, Jeff?
Thank you.
Because I guess this mic,
I know in, for instance, Ashburnham, because I've looked at a bunch of towns, this is just my pet thing. And I believe, and you'd have to double check this, but when I looked the last, it might have been last year, but it was around 85,000 or so. And then they have a part-time person in there to do, the stuff that they
Day-to-day
can
stuff.
do, phones if they,
right,
and off the top of my head, I don't recall the number of days she comes in, but it's not 5 days a week. And also if you hire a CPA, unless they have changed the law, and I don't believe they have, you don't have to go out to bid. You can, it's like a town council. It's one of those positions
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's,
we
That's way above.
advertise and we can hire.
you hire somebody and say,
Right.
come in.
Absolutely.
So there are many towns that do it. Like I said, the lady that does Ashburnham, I think it's 5 towns that she does. Of course, they had a firm doing it and he retired. So you know, but again, they have the system in place. And if you're using a standardized,
Yeah, using Vadar.
both use Vadar or use Muni.
Yep.
Thing. But I mean, the accounting system with the accounts and all that, if you follow the Massachusetts accounting standards, then, you know, CPA with municipal experience comes in and just you pick right up and go on.
Understood.
So it's easy to do.
All right, I will, so that would be also a part of the same recommendation. It's obviously to,
And as part of the expense, just for your consideration, from working from Florida or even if she was in New York, whatever, working remote, to get here. And how do you get reports and things that require approval and signatures and stuff? You gotta upload it, you gotta email it, electronic signature, it's gotta come back.
Right.
That's,
Time
to me, that's a hassle for employees and department heads
I
trying to
believe-
get stuff done. And
I believe you're right. I think that's one
And
of
it's September 20th and we don't have the August financial report.
Yep, I'm not happy with that either.
It's, 3 weeks.
It's, yeah,
Yeah, it should be 7 days.
It's
it
just,
should be 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Guys, one, thank you so, yeah, because I mean, obviously, when you have to reconcile each month, it shouldn't take
Well,
more than.
to capture what Jeff said, explore using Jeff, do you know what they call it? Is it a municipal CPA agreement? Is it
It's a
just
company.
is it a company? She works for a company, that-
she is.
She is,
the company.
so she is a CPA for multiple towns, but
She has a small firm. There are several towns that
that
utilize
use a,
firms like
Yep.
that. And I think last I looked, I believe she was going 5 towns.
Okay.
She's like-
so explore that
I
possibility.
I
too.
got that on here as a recommendation as well.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
I was also gonna suggest, perhaps looking at the 10 comparison towns. And see what they, how much they pay and how they conduct their accounting services.
okay.
I mean, certainly Ashburnham, Jeff mentioned is
Is
a
on
good
it, yeah.
example. Maybe there's other models of business that, comparable sized towns use that we're not aware of.
Okay, I mean, I'm definitely gonna put this on there, but, can I task you with that? Can you do that? So
Sure.
we can have it for our next meeting?
Sure.
So we can have the information on
Yeah.
those 10 comparison towns and what they do for their financial
Sure.
management and their accounting. So we can have something to bring back to the people to say, hey, we are looking at all of this. Okay, anything else?
I could do that.
Okay, I have. All right, so.
You need a motion?
I'm thinking, I mean, I want to do this the right way. So, yeah, I would entertain a motion to provide recommendations to the Board of Selectmen concerning the actions for the current town accountant position.
Can we make that motion?
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Can you add like, I'll do the recommendation, I'll do it in writing, and then I'll
No,
make
do
sure
the
that you.
10 town
10
comparison.
towns, and the next meeting we can.
Yes. Is that
Formalize it.
excellent?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Have any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
And I vote. I vote yes as well. All right, going on to, oh my lord, current veteran service officer. I had a conversation with her yesterday, went really well. As you see in the agenda, 30,000 is not the correct answer. The right answer, because she just reconciled from July of 22 till present. And there's $46,000 and some change coming back to the town of Templeton very, very, very soon. Not to mention, I put my notes. Not to mention, she did have 7 new veterans that are on her list now. She has 7 new veterans. She does have hours here at Town Hall. She is working Tuesday. She's doing hours in the, excuse me, sorry about that. Hours in the morning and hours in the evening on Tuesday. It is posted on the website. It's, I would, use the phone number. There are some technical difficulties going on right now with the phones. They're being worked on. The cell phone is being worked on as well. There was an issue with the cell phone because it was telling people when they called there was no town veterans officer. So that is incorrect. There is a town veterans officer. She does work here and she's doing, as we said, the king's business. And again, she does have 7 and she did 3 home visits last week and she's making contact with the veteran organizations in town. Again, being a veteran myself, I think that's important for people to understand that just because you don't see somebody doesn't mean they're not working. She does have hours here. She's being paid for 19.5 hours. She does have office hours, like I said, on Tuesday morning and Tuesday evening. They are posted on the website. Please, if there's a veteran out there that needs assistance or needs help, that phone is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the other hours that she's working to meet the 19.5, believe me, she is working. She is reconciling. She is doing the job. And I wanted people to understand that. Yes.
I just want you to know that as a Shine counselor, there is a new rule in effect
Mhm.
that on Part B Medicare, which now costs $165,
Yes.
if a veteran qualifies for the Mass Health Buy-in program, which pays that Part B.
Mhm.
If they qualify for that, it will no longer come from the Chapter 115 veterans. It's being transferred to the state.
Oh, great.
So it will save the town money.
Great.
Okay.
I'll make sure that she's aware of that.
And I think it did start in July.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Secretary Santiago put in place.
Yeah.
John Santiago was
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
He's changing the whole EOBS.
That's what I heard. All the
He's,
VS1 screen, all that's being changed right
he's-
now because
yeah.
all the numbers changed too, I heard. All the numbers went up as far as Chapter 115, the numbers actually, based on income actually went up, increased, which is also a great thing for veterans, obviously in town that are having some type of financial issues. But again, on a positive note, $46,000 out of the reconciliations that happened from July of 22 till now. $46,000 is coming back to the town, which I think is a huge boost for us. I mean, obviously, it tells a tale like what was happening from July 22 till the current VSO was hired. There was 2 additional VSOs in that time frame, but apparently there was some disconnect somewhere because obviously nothing was being accomplished. But now rest assured that it has been reconciled. From July of 22. So which I thought was a great thing. Yes.
Is that money from the 75% that gets reimbursed if the town files paperwork?
That's correct. Yes.
What is budgeted paid out?
Yes, yeah. And I know there was some work that she did do, the Veteran Service Officer did, the Director did, with State, Department of Veteran Services, where, they worked hand in hand diligently for about 2.5 weeks. I mean, to reconcile these documents and paperwork. And, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. There's financial paperwork, there's housing paperwork, there's, rent or lease paperwork or mortgage paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into the system that assists the director to authorize certain amounts of money. Then it goes into the system, it goes into Boston, and then there's I call them handlers. There's a person that's there that oversees what
Processor.
Processor, thank you. Handler is a bad word, isn't it? So processor that will work with that VSO or VSO in order to get the 75% back. Okay. Which again, that's part of the $46,000 is coming back based on the 75%, which is great. Okay, and I know she's still diligently working. There's still a couple of clients that she has that she's still trying to reconcile. But I mean, she's working hand in hand with Boston to make sure that happens. So it is being done. And again, call the number, leave a message. She will call you back. Please set up an appointment with the Director of Veteran Services. She will meet with you. She'll meet you at your home, at the office, wherever she needs to meet you to make sure that you're being taken care of. And that's what's being put out now. Any questions with that? You have anything to add? No?
I want to say thank you for facilitating that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I think it's important for the people to know that this is really happening and, and part of that spreadsheet, like Jeff first initiated, that would be part of some of the free cash return. Some of those monies that are returned is because of, veteran service officer money, the reimbursement that the town gets under the 75% rule. And that would be another line item of how much dollars came back. You know what I mean? That would be great. See here. Action on the request Parks and Recreation Commission. Anna, should I come up? Okay. All right, Candace, you did a request for emergency use of funds from our emergency funds for like $8,000. I did get the quote from the plumbing company for
Right.
$6,604.
Yep, I just got that too.
Okay, so I did get that. And obviously we have to vote, obviously, if we're gonna, expend emergency funds or not. And unfortunately, based on the need,
Right.
of how these funds work, for unforeseen or emergency use, a sink being put in does not constitute, based on the statute,
Right.
emergency use. So, obviously, we would have to vote no on your request. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for requesting no on the financial request.
Well, I wanted to
I'm
actually,
gonna talk more about that in a second. I promise. I have something else to add. I need to make a motion to request a no on the Recreation Department's request for $8,000 for their sink being put in at the Gimlin Waite Field.
Is that because it's beyond our statutory or bylaw?
It doesn't constitute an emergency based on what the statute requires. So
You know, when I was looking through the reports, I
Mhm.
saw $10,000.
Mhm.
Oh, is that her department?
It is.
it was, we gave it away.
I'm gonna. So I made a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
You making a motion to vote or you?
No, we have to vote to decline the request of $8,000 of emergency funds for the Park and Rec Department.
Well, it would really be
Is it an up, down?
$6,604.
Well, it would
Is it
be,
yes or no?
it's
Yeah,
yes or
nay.
no. Obviously, it's
You
yes or
have-
no.
So you're voting on the request.
Yes,
Alternative.
but I have an alternative plan.
All right. I'll make a motion to vote on that request.
Okay,
I will second that.
okay, great. All right, any other discussion?
For you.
I see none. Mike?
No.
No,
No,
and I vote no as well. Now, going back to your budget, because I looked at your budget as well.
Yeah.
You do have, you do
Can I
have,
tell you can I explain how we got this way? I would like the public to know what happened.
okay, I'll give you a few times, yeah, of
Okay.
course.
All right, so what happened was there were two accounts. One was $15,000. It was controlled by Building and Grounds. And there was another account of Gilman Waite that was controlled by Parks and Rec.
Okay.
It was $10,000. So we did the bathrooms with the vote and the money that people got from CPC.
Yep.
During that process, as the bathrooms went in, we were informed that there was no money for certain things because they didn't, the quote that we were given was wrong. Things like the stalls. We had no money for stalls. We had no money for other little details that came up. And so I sat in a room, I brought it to my board and my board thought that, well, people waited long enough for those bathrooms. And the reason what happened with that $10,000 was actually voted previously. We had voted to put in the back window to use those $10,000. We had voted to put the 3 sinks in to use that $10,000. We gave our sink money away to finish the bathrooms because we were short a lot of money. Between the $15,000 and the $10,000, that money's all gone and pretty much used. And there's $795 left into this 10,000 account that we controlled. And this shows you what we paid for out of that 10,000. I have the count. It was even a point where we had to give $1,649 to the plumber because it was short. So we were given the wrong information to go to the town, to go to CPC. Even though CPC had given us an extra like $5,000 on top of what the original quote was. And this is not this is now our second time we have been given, my board was given, we just found out we were also given other bad information too for our other project that we're working on. And we're short for that new project. So my board wanted me to come here to explain to the public that we, in good faith in Parks and Rec and Commission, we brought everything to the floor, as a, we supported it. And we felt like we did the right thing on the public. We felt like we should give the $10,000 to finish the bathrooms. The problem.
What account did that come out of?
It came out of the Gilman Waite account that the Recreation Department controlled.
Okay.
We were told that we cannot use CPC funds in order to put sinks in. So we knew the game, what we were doing. We knew that we would lose our money for our sinks, but we felt like the public having the bathrooms was more important. And the reason why you can't use CPC funding for bathrooms is because for the sinks is because the public doesn't come in and use the sinks. The CPC funding for the bathrooms, the public's use the bathrooms, so therefore it qualifies for CPC funding. We knew the $10,000, but at this point, the bathrooms were almost done and they had to order the stalls. It was the stalls. The stalls were over $5,000. That was the bulk of the $10,000. There was $1,000 and some cents for the plumbing that didn't have enough to cover that. We covered that. And there was some other construction that we covered. Now, some of it was split between us and the $15,000 into the building and grounds that controlled that account. That account, someone tried to take the money out and said for the back rolling door, actually got paid over on that account, the $15,000, and that is being paid this week. They said, you have to, I said, no, this account has nothing left. So I hope it's in the 15 because that's where we sat down and that's where that came. So it's half a dozen, six of another. The rolling doors would have came out of there. They came over here, the sinks, because the $15,000 was supposed to take care of all the stuff for the concession stand.
Right.
The $10,000 was supposed to take care of the concession stand. The bathrooms were supposed to be taken care of by the funds that the town voted for CPC to take care of all things bathrooms. But both of those accounts had to be used to do a lot of the stuff for the bathrooms.
Understood.
Right. So, and my board wanted to be advised on the situation. The first advisement we had gotten from someone, this is before the other things came up, was that I was supposed to fill this out and ask you for the money. We don't know about a lot of these technical things in the town.
It's okay.
We learn as we go along. So we didn't know that some people said you shouldn't have done that. So so we just want to know, we want to get at least 3 compartment sink put in the concession stand. We have the sink, we own the sink. We just want it installed so that our new manager that runs that we just hired could have a sink to wash his stuff. He doesn't have to take it home at the end of the night on his own dime and wash it. We would like it to be all the stuff being washed in the concession stand. So that's where we're
How
at.
much money you have left in your personnel account, Candace?
The personal account, we did not hire lots of people.
I know.
We did not hire.
No, I just want you.
We did not hire the laborer. No one's come forward because they just haven't come forward for the job.
Right. How much money is left in there?
Pretty much everything except what we paid for the swim instructors.
Okay.
I have it.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. I do
yeah.
have it. I have it written somewhere. Wait a minute. Let me find it. I'm a little it's been a long day for
okay.
me.
And we're gonna, obviously, we're all working together.
According to my calculations, I believe there's $34,211.00.
Oh, you're right on target.
We
Wow.
we used $2,500 to pay for our swim instructors. And we just hired today. We hired our rec assistant.
Excellent.
So she'll go through all the paperwork and stuff.
The board went through all that
Yeah,
today?
yeah, we went there and we met her and they voted for her. So we will have someone who's in charge of all things Parks and Rec and helping us with all our administration needs. And we are so super excited to finally have somebody that represent our Parks and Rec.
Excellent. And
to help us
she'll
with
be at
stuff.
the senior center, community center? I
Yeah,
assume?
she'll be in our offices in there and she'll also be sworn in too, because according to our policies that we voted for Parks and Rec, we wanted our member to be for this role to be sworn in.
Excellent.
And then she'll be reappointed like similar to the CPC admin. And then, like the, there's other ones that get voted in on a yearly, because we never guaranteed the money for that job. So we didn't want to pigeonhole or,
Year to year.
yeah, we were afraid that to do a job like that.
Okay.
So we wanted, because we don't know what the town, how the budgets will go year to year. So,
Can't worry about next year's budget or in this year's budget,
Right.
unfortunately, and
Right.
and that's just basic.
right. So we
municipal-
thought it would be it would be responsible for us to vote to every year she comes for us and we vote as a board to keep her as her position like we have a couple other ones in the town that work that way.
All right, so my recommendation would be to move the $6,000+ from that account to your other business account in order to pay for the thing to be put in. Because
Okay.
at the end of the year, you're gonna have leftover funds in that account because you're not gonna expend all of them on that person because obviously you just got hired today.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be doing that. And I know your concern would be like, what about next year? What about next year's budget? I mean,
Right.
well, even if we go to next year's budget, if there's money left over in that account, guess where it goes?
Right.
Free cash.
Okay.
So it gets sucked anyways. It doesn't matter. So you might as well use it while you have the ability to use it.
Okay.
Those are your dollars.
Okay.
That's park and rec money.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be to take what, use whatever $6,000+ and because you can move that into
Okay.
governmental monies, you can move.
Yeah, we weren't sure about it. Well, someone told us, that's why I started filling the form out and my board was still like, because we had did the other application and they wanted me to still come here because they weren't, what their concern was that when we, as a board, we are supposed to do this itemized thing, even though we have one number. And so what it is we want to make sure that one of my board members concerned was that if we take some of this money, like we didn't get the person's, the laborer.
Right.
And so if we take the laborer's money, which would be this, because their number was, it was not like $9,000. So if we took it out of the laborer $9,000, their concern was when we go to budget time, will they say, well, you didn't get that, you didn't use that 9,000, so we won't give you another 9,000 for that job again on our budget. That's what, because our budget goes like this. This is what we see.
No, I understand. I'm
Right.
fully aware. I think you have the budget, how you budget. Now,
Right.
how it goes in front of, the Board of Selectmen, that's a whole different animal.
Right,
I mean, so if you need, say when that person wasn't hired this year,
right,
but it was advertised and those funds are left and they're left there, they're gonna be sucked into free cash anyway.
right.
And then you are still wondering like, well,
We
are we
finally
still
hired
gonna
it.
are we still gonna be able to hire this person next year? There's money gonna be available in the budget for this person?
Right,
Us to sit here right now and tell you, I don't know.
right.
I would have no idea. I mean,
That's
obviously,
what their
depending on.
fear was. The fear was that if we give the money out of this end, and then we do hire somebody, and then like we go into budget season, and they say, oh, well, you didn't use that amount of money, so you're gonna get less, so now we can't hire like one of these jobs, you know
No,
what I mean?
I mean, I would,
Yeah.
You ask for what you need.
you ask for
Yeah.
what you need.
Okay.
And obviously the town will then, inform you based on what the budgetary responsibilities are throughout all the departments
Okay.
to make sure what's whole.
We just didn't want to give up the job of the laborer, because it's supposed to take care of the park.
I totally,
We were afraid. We
Yeah.
didn't know what to do.
I mean, even if you don't like, I want to make sure we're perfectly clear.
Right,
Even if you don't hire somebody,
right.
that money sits there until the end of the year and it gets sucked into
The free
the
cash.
free cash.
Yes,
So you're still having the same issue, but
Right.
now you have the ability to at least internally transfer those dollars
okay,
to get the stuff done that you need done now, today.
right.
Like you
So the
could.
sinks are important, so we should take the money to
I
do the
would,
sinks. Okay,
absolutely.
All
I
right.
would talk to,
Okay.
the chief financial officer. I believe it's still Adam, correct?
Yes.
So I would talk to him and do the request to move that dollars from this account to this account. And meantime, be on the phone with the plumber and say, hey, when can you put that in?
Yeah, but I think I need a vote from my vote board before I can actually move anything. So
Okay, well then.
I have to gas them
Nope,
to do a
then
meeting
I
for
would-
that,
That,
yeah.
that would be our.
It might not be until October, because that's when my next meeting is.
Well, you could probably do an emergency meeting just for this.
Yeah, well, I just did one to hire the person, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll ask them if they want to do.
I think this is
everything when they-
important. I
Yeah,
think getting
me
that
too.
sink in, that three-bay sink is very important
let them
for us when we look at, the snack shack and making sure that we're up on par as far as what we're supposed to be doing
Right.
based on, food service.
Yeah, because,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, definitely we need to have the sink in there because it's not,
Well, it's mandated
ideal,
by law,
yeah.
so we need a sink in there.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we write a letter or communicate with the selectmen in some way to, or Adam.
Because do they have to like, do they have to sign off on the transfers, the select board on our transfer?
Letter, no, it's internal, it's
Oh, it's
already
internal.
us, it's
Okay.
already us.
Okay. right.
Letter to selectmen concerning
So from the wage account, it would go
Moving.
into the service account.
move money, wage account to
Moving up
service
just in case.
Yeah.
Services, yeah,
account.
And I think we, if we can, we
Don't cut yourself short, move enough,
nothing to do
in
with,
case something else.
I mean, obviously, I would go,
well, they want to put, there's a bid, there's a quote, we have a $2,000 to put a wall in so that we were able to, the manager doesn't want people in and out all the time
right,
because of the food issue. So that would put it so that when they turn, they have to turn on the scoreboard and they're always coming in to turn on the
so
scoreboard.
now you look at about 9,000.
Yeah, between the
Okay.
two of them, yeah.
9,000.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna put on here, and I will, if that's amenable to everybody here,
yes.
I can do a letter and I can get that recommendation
Okay,
um,
that would be great.
to the select board, just so we're all on the same page here, so everybody knows what's
Yeah.
happening with town dollars.
Yeah, because we just didn't know, and it's the first time this has ever come up for us, and we didn't want to do anything wrong as a board. We wanted to make sure, and then we didn't want to like not have the person to be the laborer because we did something wrong.
Right,
So, we, like I said, the first advice was for us to come and ask you for the money for the emergency, but we didn't know that that was wrong, but we shouldn't have do that because it's not that kind of emergency.
nothing, listen, nothing's wrong, Ken.
Yeah.
We're all working here for
Yeah.
the same commonality of the town.
Right,
So my thing is we want the sink in,
right.
and I think
Okay.
you have the ability to do that.
Okay,
And I'll do my letter recommendation to the select board from the committee
all right.
to move the $9,000 from your wage account to your services account,
Yeah.
effective immediately.
Yeah.
That way you have, and again, that's just
Yeah.
our recommendation. I mean, obviously, even the select board can say, they really can't say too much. It's your dollars.
Right,
I mean, they're just
That's right,
being
they're-
aware
yeah,
of it. So
proximity, yeah.
so everybody's aware, the town's aware, like, okay, we're short this money for the sink and the wall potentially at the snack
Right.
shack,
yeah,
which is important for Parks and Rec.
Rex, yeah.
So,
Yeah, like I said, we're learning on how to all do this stuff and maneuver around it. But having our new assistant will be helpful because they'll be able to keep all this in order for us. I
Okay.
mean, I always say it like Jessica and CPC, I'm like, I want one of those and we might have one of those. So this seems like we're really on a great track for Parks and Rec for our town.
You're
So,
doing great.
yeah,
I learned something new tonight. I was very surprised that CPC is so specific. I mean, it's one building.
yeah, it's very
It's an
specific.
it's expense for that
Yeah.
one building. I
We-
don't understand why they can fund the restrooms, but not another part of the
Well,
building.
because the public goes in the restrooms and the public
Okay.
doesn't go in the kitchen. I mean, into the building, yeah,
I just, to
Yeah.
me, it's splitting hairs.
yeah. But
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
all the
thank
work you're
you.
doing.
thank you
I
for
know
the
it's a-
advice. I
It's always a
appreciate it.
thankless job,
Yeah.
and, waiting for somebody to, it's just a thankless job, no matter what we do. But again, I think your best move right now is it would
Do
be that
okay.
recommendation.
Well, I appreciate.
And we
your time.
have your support.
Yeah, I appreciate all you guys' time. And like I said, we like, well, we didn't even know we were supposed to come here. All I heard was you like advisory, advise. I said, maybe this is where we go.
We have support. It's the other way around.
Yeah,
She has
yeah,
our support.
exactly. You have us.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Here, we need to make a motion on that.
Yeah, I need to make a motion for me to write a letter to the select board recommending that concerning moving money from the account, wage account to the services account of amount of $9,000, just as a recommendation notification to the select board, signed off by me. So,
Yeah, second.
okay, great. Any other discussion? I see that, Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. All
Thank
right,
you.
Candace, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, appreciate it.
No worries, no worries. All right, moving on. The earmarks request, I'm gonna move that to November. If anybody has have any issue with that.
Nope.
All right, because I wanted to get some more information on that, but I didn't get it in time. Going to H, the use of meals tax dollars from the cherry sheet to purchase new police cruiser fall town meeting. Obviously, it was supposed to be done at the beginning of the year. Obviously, that wasn't done because of whatever reason. I don't have the full information on that. But obviously there is going to be, I believe, an article for the for the meeting to use meals tax dollars for the police cruiser in the fall town meeting. Any discussion on that?
I do, Mr.
Communication?
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that at least one police cruiser should be replaced every single year.
Mhm.
We should be selling off a police vehicle. When we sell off, when it reaches 3 years or 80,000 miles, we should sell off the vehicle before it becomes too expensive to
Okay.
repair. So I would certainly be in favor of the use of meals tax dollars. It seems to dovetail very well with the cost of a police cruiser.
Well, and that was the whole design of the whole meals tax, was the utilization of those meals tax dollars for the purchase of the police cruiser. That was the whole design of that program. I mean, I don't know if it's still in writing or was it signed that way? Is it still in writing, Chuck? Is it still in writing? Is it still in writing about the meals tax? I remember correctly, because I remember doing that.
That is, I'm actually glad that you are discussing this and this is getting followed through with
Of course. it is.
Finally.
Yeah.
because,
Finally.
no, actually, back in 18.
Yep.
There was a flyer put out to the town. It's still on the town's website.
Yep.
Where it's, the businesses and the people were told that this was going to be earmarked meals tax for capital. Specifically, the first year that it was approved, they did a lease for a police cruiser
They did.
and a 1-ton for the highway.
Right.
And the actual article back in the voters guide said the local option meals tax created by the state, such, state revenue. If adopted, the Board of Selectmen intend to use this as a funding source to meet the town's many needs with respect to replacing its rolling stock, cars, trucks, and the like.
Okay.
And it's meals tax this year, this for fiscal 23 was $77,000. And it was only used for the capital for that first time. The rest of the time, it's just been pushed into the pile of money and used to pay for whatever.
Well, the problem that the town has, it's not really a problem, but the issue at hand is, you have so people understand that there's a pot, one pot. So all the dollars go into this pot. And then the dollars come out of that pot wherever it needs to go, called the general fund. Are there other funds? Of course there are. But the general fund usually collects all the cherry sheet money, which includes the tax dollars, which are, sent out typically quarterly, meaning the meals tax dollars quarterly. Same with the veteran services dollars quarterly, which all goes into where? The general fund. Now, there was a thing back in the day where we tried to explain with veteran services to do a revolving fund, which was approved, but then denied by the Attorney General's office because they didn't want that to be, they didn't want a general fund like that. Because the thought process behind it was, well, then if we have a revolving account, when that money comes in, the 75%, we could move that to the.
It would go right in the revolving fund to be used only by the
That's
veterans
correct.
services.
That's correct. And I said, well, and I did a 3-year projection where within 3 years, we would be just using our own money over like a revolving door type of thing, using the cash that we got back from the state. Well, the state didn't like that. Well, when we did the meals tax, we specifically proposed the meals tax for a specific tasking, which was rolling stock, which included, police cruisers and other vehicles alike. And that's still going to happen. But where's the meals tax money go?
It goes into the general
Goes into
fund
the general fund. So
rather than funding, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead, Jim.
Rather than being a direct funding source for the capital stabilization fund, which would then you would have money earmarked to go in there and you could actually have a budget, which would allow you to have a plan. So you would know what you're going to spend when the capital improvement committee meets per the bylaw and does their report to the selectmen in December. You would actually know what money you have there. It's all recommendations from the DOR, like new growth money.
Mhm.
It's only one-time fund. It changes from year to year.
Right.
You put that money set aside in capital stabilization. It's a budget philosophy, and you would actually fund capital stabilization with a good amount of money, and in a couple of years you would have a decent amount in there, and then you could actually plan what you're going to buy, because the police department has already shown by buying new cruisers each year, their maintenance budget went down.
Yeah, huge. Yeah,
So
because they're still,
it
they're on the,
follows, the fire department, I mean, the fire trucks, they don't travel a lot. And it's a good thing when they don't. The ambulances roll a lot. And they have their own funding source.
Right.
To cover the cost of those.
I
But
see what you're saying.
it's good to see that they're gonna use the meals tax for what they told the residents
Will be used.
for. And I
Absolutely.
just hope it continues.
But my thing is, I mean, moving it to the capital stabilization, I think is a great idea. Versus just leaving it in the general fund,
Because
because that's,
you know what happens, you
It's
get
gonna
the
be
end of it,
used.
you get a budget and it's tight,
it's gone. Exactly.
And then you don't get your cruisers and your one tons and your maintenance budget climbs, and then you're looking for money to fund that. And the cruisers are broke down, and that's why they had 9 of them. They needed 9 to run 3 cruisers per shift because hey, number 3 broke down, bring out number 4 so I can keep working.
Right.
I mean, it
I
sounds
remember that
funny, but it's not.
when I first took office, that was the issue that we were having. Thank you, Chip. Yes,
Mr. Chair, is there gonna be a warrant on the fall town meeting for a police cruiser the way there was a year ago?
there should be, yes. I haven't seen the warrant yet. Obviously, I know the warrant's open for the public, I believe. I think it's open till the end of the month, I think. It opened in August and it closes
How,
September.
how the meals tax was proposed to the town should be the way the funds are executed.
And that's
No
how
other
they,
way.
that's no other way. No, and I understand that. And I think, and that's where I think specifically, like Jeff said, I think specifically if those funds are moved, the meals tax did buy the cruiser every single year. No, except one year. I believe the light and water department, bought a cruiser for the town. I think that was in 2019 or 20, I think it was 2019. Yeah, they bought a cruiser, but I mean, I think doing a recommendation to the select board to have that specific dollars, move to the capital fund, I think would be, at least we can do our part to do the recommendation to say, hey, if those $77,000 comes in, instead of going it directly to the general fund, well, that's where it gets dumped, then it needs to be moved over to the capital
Should be in a
stabilization.
sub-line, should be in a sub-account of that account.
Well, if they move it to the capital stabilization, then it moves to capital stabilization, then it's got a separate line that it was moved. And then they can use those for, like you said, the rolling stock that the town needs, because that's what it was intentionally used for. It wasn't, that was just another money source that we had to utilize because the way the town was at that time, back in, 2016, 2017. So I would entertain a motion to do a recommendation to the select board to have, to come up with a plan for the meals tax money to be moved to capital stabilization when it comes in.
Mr. Chair, I would further amend that.
Okay.
With the long-term goal of having a turnover of police cruisers every 3 years
Or 80,000 miles.
or 80,000 miles. I just think that if you can turn over the value of a cruiser drops dramatically at 3 years and 80,000 miles approximately. And if we can get into a program where the cruisers don't go more than 80,000 miles of 3 years, we'll have less maintenance costs and more trade-in.
Right. Well, I think the maintenance cost,
That should be a target.
but exactly, target goal. I think, like Jeff said, I think the maintenance costs are going down because obviously they're still within their first 5 years of the maintenance warranty of the vehicle. In the first 100,000 miles, so they still get some type of warranty, just like any other vehicle would. And that's which is helping us versus having cars for 9, 10, 15 years, have 120,000 miles on it. Remember those days?
Good chunk.
Oh my, you have no idea. In 2016, oh my lord. If it wasn't for this individual that passed away in town that left the police department 100 and some thousands of dollars. That's what Chief Bennett, bought his first 3 brand new vehicles with. And he did a great job by doing that. That was a great, incentive and a great plan for use of those dollars. Because the rolling stock back then, I mean, it was deplorable, to say the least. All right, so I have that motion out. Do I have a second?
Second.
With the
amendment.
With the amendment.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
No.
See, no, Mike,
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Town-owned vehicles, projected usage policy for all employees other than contracted personnel. Because we do have contracted personnel in town, that actually use their, take their vehicles, to their domicile. Police, fire, and I believe highway. So any other vehicles in town, I would like to have some type of policy we can recommend to the select board of town use vehicles, because again, maintenance is involved, fuel's involved, and obviously usage is involved. So I want to make sure that we come up with a
Insurance
quick
liability.
insurance liability. I want to make sure it's got a blue plate on it. So I want to make sure that we, as I said, cover our six. I want to make sure that we're doing the right things to recommend to the select board that, hey, we need this policy in place in order to make sure that we protect ourselves from any future liability or future issues. And I would like, Mike, if you can come up with some type of draft.
Yep.
And maybe we can present it at the next meeting. Just so we can give some type of feedback to the select board as far as usage of, we did town land usage policies. Why do we should have vehicle usage policy as well. And those policies need to be followed. Because as I read on, social media, policies need to be followed.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read and I have a copy of the present vehicle policy.
Mhm.
I did read through it.
Yeah.
I think what I would suggest to be included in any recommendation is, I don't see language that employee would be responsible for the cost of damage to a town vehicle should he or she be involved in an accident. That's quite common in companies. I know being a government, it's different,
Mhm.
and it's probably not that practical, but at least that should be explored. And
I can see if they were found at fault, you know what I mean?
right,
I mean,
and it gets sticky.
it does get sticky because the insurance coverage that we have, the umbrella that the town has on all its vehicles under the insurance policy. I'm not sure how that would work. I would have to look into that, but Mike can look into that.
Yeah, I think the
it'd be-
other,
What is covered under our policy?
I mean, we're
What is, no, just look at it,
right.
determine what they, because there's so many things that could go wrong.
Of course, I mean, that was, listen, they were using first POVs to trailer blue plated trailers. I had to, I obviously put a stop to that. That was, that's a no-go, for multitudes of reasons, because if you get an accident now on your vehicle, now the trailer, which belongs to the town, but the blue plate is also involved, which means now you have liability with the town as well. That was hence one of the reasons why some vehicles were shifted to where they are even today presently, where they now use blue plated vehicles to actually tow the trailer, which is also blue plated as well. So, and same with other trailers that we have in town, because I know the police department has a trailer, for their ATV. So there's other trailers, and the same with the fire department. I mean, you're not gonna hook up a private vehicle.
There's so many things that you could be looking at a lawsuit in a heartbeat.
Yes, liability is huge, and that's the fear that's the hole that I don't want to go down. I don't want the town to see that or have to do that as well. So if you can come up with some type of draft, Mike, concerning that.
Yep.
That would be wonderful. And I can tell you that you can use 10 communities. But I can tell you that there's other towns that have town vehicle use policies, because I've seen them. So you get some ideas. I mean, don't reinvent the wheel if you don't
Oh, no.
have to.
yeah. I think the
Plagiarism.
policy does-
Plagiarism is the best form.
It does.
Gratitude.
Right. I think that's important. So that would be obviously another recommendation to the select board, but doesn't need to be voted on. But at least as a tasking. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you doing that.
Do it while I'm in Europe.
On your cruise. Okay, Jay, the governor's letter,
I have some things to say about that.
the governor's letter
Uh,
or the vehicle?
just about the About the Main Street Bridge.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait a second.
Sure.
We on J?
Yeah, you haven't done the governor's line.
Oh, yeah, we're on J, yes. Okay, so, yeah, new letter to the governor's offices, requesting dollars for the Main Street Bridge project. This will be obviously the second letter that we would vote on to sign and send to the governor's office. This is the same letter. I just changed the date. Look at that. I think I already sent it to you guys anyways.
Yeah.
That's just the same letter. But I'm gonna add. That's this one. That's the second letter to the governor for the $3 million for the Main Street Bridge. Yep, that's it.
Can I just comment?
Sure.
And then, this is really for the public more than anything else.
Sure.
But I did have a conversation about the Main Street Bridge with Representative Slotnick.
Mhm.
And it's a priority, it's on the list, but he doesn't really have any idea of, when it's going to be a done deal. I'm really very frustrated at this because we sent a letter almost a year ago to the governor. And, there's always talk about all this money available for infrastructure projects. And the project's been shovel ready for over a year. And there's been no response to, a letter to Governor Baker. And also the town administrator has made phone calls to Governor Baker's aides and Governor Healy's aides, as well as, my talking to Representative Zlotnick, and we just don't seem to be getting anywhere. So while I'm in favor of the letter, I really think that we should be thinking about something else, like maybe a Zoom meeting, similar to what was done with the state auditor, maybe with the lieutenant governor or the governor, just to talk to somebody face to face about the importance of this project.
Right. I also had an opportunity to talk to state rep as well. And I'm gonna do a recommendation as well. That we'll probably need to vote on, because I'd like to speak with the management of Seaman Paper as well as the sand pits, graves, sand pits. And I want to get management to get at a table to see what their concerns are and how that is impacting those large businesses that employ a large percentages of our town. So
Good to have quantitative information.
that way, if
You see the impact on the community.
if I could draft something for the impact that affects the community based on what Seaman Paper and what Graves comes up with, I mean, I'm not saying, huge numbers, but I'm like, how is it, going around? How is it impacting drivers? How is it impacting your business? How is it impacting the employees? If I can get something like that and draft something up from them, from those two organizations, they feel that might be another angle that we can approach with the state.
I wouldn't be surprised if both of those companies have a white paper sitting somewhere with that information.
I'm sure they do. I mean, that bridge is crucial to our infrastructure. Huge, because to go around, you would have to either go down, Turner Street or go down Hamlet Mill. And even Hamlet Mill Bridge also was in disrepair. That also needs to be looked at as well. So our infrastructure needs to be looked at, not just above infrastructure, but our sub infrastructure. Such as, our water pipes and sewer pipes, et cetera, et cetera. Because obviously, as you know, we had another water break up at Patriots Road. So, I mean, these infrastructure issues are very crucial to our existence. And I think I know, having the ability to utilize those corporations and companies that employ them, a large part of Templeton. They employ a lot of people. I mean, not like 10, 50, like hundreds of people between the two organizations. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's crucial and it's important to get how it's impacting them. Then we can show the state like, hey, it's impacting these businesses because of this reason. And I think you need to put like the high emphasis on this. So that would be like this letter is just like the second letter, just to, Governor Healy, but I also want to be able to have the ability to go speak to those individual management personnel to find out what their impacts are. That way I can take notes and I can draft something up based on what they say, bring it back here. Then that's something else we can either vote on to give to either state rep or, Senator Goby, or, even send directly to the governor's desk. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, that's just another, excuse me, just another avenue of approach. To make sure that, which I don't think that avenue has been approached. No one's actually sat at the table with these businesses to say, well, how is this impacting you with like one lane there? And everybody has to stop like right in front of where your trucks back up. You know what I mean? How does that impact you? And how does it impact Rapes? With their trucks going back and forth, you know what I mean? Which are major businesses in town. I mean, our two major corporations in this community. So, thoughts?
Sure.
Yes.
You mentioned Hamlet Mill Road Bridge, which is a town-owned bridge.
It is.
That is probably less than capable of handling the go-around traffic.
It will not.
If you
Yeah.
close the Main Street Bridge, so I would ask or suggest that you include that in the list that you would need funding for, because even though it's owned by the town of Templeton, you go to work on it, any state chapter 90 money or anything, you're gonna have to meet Mass DOT regs to make that bridge.
You're gonna have to
Rebuild
fix
it.
one before you fix the other.
So otherwise, you're gonna be going all the way back up and Turner Road, that little bridge down there.
Well, at least that's newer.
It's newer, but
And that's, I think, that's a Gardner Bridge, I believe, too,
I
right?
don't know, because there's a culvert and a bridge there, and then I don't know if they would handle, plus the width of it is maybe, it handle the weight, but
Well, I can tell you that Graves trucks are using Turner. I can tell you that right now, because
Right,
I
but-
dropped my kid off at the end of the driveway and they're like going right by me.
but if I'm talking trucks meeting, if
Right.
they're using it constant, tractor trailers are meeting it,
Right,
being on that little bridge and stuff, and that road really isn't,
no,
the width and the condition of the road.
right,
So I would just ask that you
Okay.
include the Hamlet Mill Bridge, which is already gone to
Temporary
capital by the highway
is.
department, but it just flipped out, and that's an important thing to get done. If
all,
the
all,
Main
all
Street
this
Bridge-
infrastructure is important.
Yes, well, our infrastructure we need about probably $30 million just for roads and drainage, never mind water and sidewalks.
I do know that
So-
there is. a
I'm sure you buy a
recommendation.
Mega Millions ticket tonight.
I know there's a recommendation that they're gonna do another road study, I believe. I think that it's on the select board's agenda, I believe. I mean, from the one I did, which went back then, it was like, I think it was like 2.5 million a year. Just to maintain. I mean, it's gonna be double or triple that now.
They needed 18 million,
Yeah.
they needed 18 million then in those dollars.
Right,
So I like to say about 30. We don't need a study. We need money and we need the roads and
Yeah.
drainage, sidewalks and water.
Well, yeah, the chapter 90 money is not changed in 11 years.
It's, Bob does, he puts Band-Aids on things, but that's all he's got to work.
that's
with.
all we can do, though. I mean, that's all we can do.
You're paving a road, but you haven't done the drainage, or you didn't put any in, you didn't do a sidewalk, you didn't put any in. And those are greatly needed for a number of reasons.
I mean-
One, people will use them if you put them in.
I mean, South Main
And for
Street
safety
sidewalks has
reasons,
been,
people drive like idiots, but
I mean,
I would just ask that the Hamlet Mill
Thank you.
Bridge be in there because it's as important.
I know,
You
yep.
need a motion,
you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, I would need a motion so that I can, number one, obviously provides, get information from from those two corporations in order to come back to the committee. And then provide recommendations either to the select board or to the governor's office concerning the issues that are impacting those businesses based on that bridge. And obviously, as Jeff said, also Hamlet Mill as well, which is also a bridge that's also one of our bridges, which is having some issues.
It's getting tired, right? So moved.
Yep.
Okay, have a second? Thank you. Did you second that?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Any discussion?
There's a municipal small bridge program.
There is.
There is, and it is a grant. And what if you wrote to Ken Gopi?
Mhm.
Or-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that has been discussed.
Yes. Yep, we sure do.
Yes.
there it is.
Anne's not in her office.
Just vote.
What's that?
Anne's not a senator anymore.
No, she's,
She works for
Secretary of Rural.
Secretary of
Affairs.
Rural Affairs.
yeah. Yes,
We need a vote.
yes, we do. I have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? See none? Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. This is gonna be just more informational, on K. The Main Street Bridge to tie and bonds. I just want to make sure that people know that that's, like you said, dig ready. All the engineering's been done, the planning's been done. Did we get the tie bond? Right, that's it. Oh, you got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, great. Because that's important for people to know that the tie bond was done. And that's the company that did it.
And you're entering that into the record.
I entered it into the record, yeah. Because I think that's important for the Main Street Bridge project. That's gold. So that means it's ready to go. We're just waiting for the dollars. We can't move until the dollars hit the accounts. Can I have that copy, Mike? For a second? And this was dated July 14th, just so people were aware. Scope of services, so the dollars that we actually moved from the emergency fund to the highway, this is what some of that stuff did. So, I mean, it's ready to go. I gotta make sure you get a copy of that. Jackie, you have a copy of the tie bond?
I'm sure I can get it.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, a letter from the BOS concerning funding community center kitchen, the FO Friends of Templeton Elders recommendation. Recommendation from the advisory committee. So this is what our recommendation would be to the selectmen concerning the kitchen and the kitchen and the community center, council on aging. Anything you guys want to bring up, anything?
Go ahead, no.
Huh? No?
I don't know, though.
So, you wish to be heard.
I would suggest inviting.
If you want to come up and have a seat, that'd be great. Thank you, Gail. You're the best.
I would suggest inviting the current president of the Friends, which is Donna Sands. They're the ones who have control of the money. I know how much was raised for the senior center building and the kitchen as of 2019. But they would know what their plans are, and you should contact Donna Sands.
All right. Thank you.
So-
for that.
Mhm.
Are we asking them to just fund the kitchen? And when what
Well-
becomes of the leftover funds?
Well, will there be leftover funds? Because it's been so long since, the kitchen's gonna cost way more than we ever expected, I bet you.
So what happened with the other equipment that was turned in?
As far as I know, it was turned into Gillette and there's a credit on the books, but I don't know how much.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I know we raised about $65,000 toward completion of the building, which includes the kitchen. Because even after the kitchen, there's a wheelchair lift and stairways to do.
Right.
But I know we raised that at least $65,000.
Yeah, like through the Mac and Cheese Festival and all the other.
Yes, that's
festivals that we
correct.
Completed. Okay.
Mhm. And it was advertised as such.
Is there a question with that? The money's not there anymore?
Let's just say there's no communication.
When
They-
was the last audit, do you remember?
I don't believe there was one. I recommended one. There was one.
If they're a 501c3,
Yes, they are.
so they have to turn that card in every year.
Yep.
Have they been turning the card in every year?
I don't know.
That's a
No,
good
there's
question
no
to ask.
communication. I've heard they no longer want to fundraise, but I don't know.
Okay,
Is it on the-
all right, so we need to come up with some, again, not pointing fingers,
I
not.
think you should invite the president and see what their intentions are.
Okay, I appreciate that. You have anything? No?
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay,
Publicly.
okay. Do you have anything, Mike?
No, I was just concerned that, well, is it, if there was addition, if there was extra funds, say, what would be the plan for that also? Because the money was procured under one umbrella, so it. By 501c3, it has to be, it is designated for this purpose and it has to be expended on this purpose. It can't be put in another direction.
Right.
So,
The only comment I will make is that we as advisory cannot obtain an accounting.
Nope.
Where, the parties don't seem to be willing to provide an accounting. That's what appears to me. That may be true, maybe not true, but I think that we've kind of reached a dead end, and that other people who can compel an accounting will probably have to get involved.
we can only ask.
You can only ask.
We can't demand.
So if we send a recommendation to the select board to present something to the Attorney General's office. Or something along those lines,
I did. All right.
oh, you did,
Okay, because that's the only way it can be done.
okay,
What is the status of that?
Haven't heard a word.
and when was it submitted?
About a month ago.
Okay.
So it has about enough time.
No,
The
no,
request,
but I think, well,
your request or their submission to the Attorney General's office?
my request.
Did you request a full accounting of some kind?
It's called an investigation. And I would suggest we wait till we get the architect's drawings and it goes out to bid. That way we know what kind of money we're talking about, and then you can go ask, I would like this kind of money donated. Can you help? I think we have more of a leg to stand on if we know a dollar amount.
Well, the dollar amount, we do know approximately the dollar amount. It's
Cost of the kitchen
it's in the neighborhood of $200,000.
out. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
It sounds about
the,
right.
the funds that I'm talking about would certainly help toward that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, if there's $50,000 out there, it would certainly help the town and help the costs.
Right,
It's 65.
okay, 65. 60,000.
First get minutes.
Okay.
Was 65. It could be more now with interest.
Yeah, who knows? Well, again, we're a recommendational party, so I mean, at this point, what I would say is, we'll table this, I guess.
Well, I
just
think
keep an eye
the
on
only
the
recommendation that
progress.
we can make is that the select board
Move forward with
inquire of the Attorney General's office, the status of any other than that, I don't think we can do it.
Recommend the select board, what?
either move forward to the Attorney General's office or provide an update on where.
Yeah,
We
ask the
are.
Attorney General's office to provide an update on the status of their inquiry.
If they've even
Okay,
asked for
If
it,
you even,
we've even asked for it yet.
excellent, I can do that.
John, I'll forward my correspondence.
Sure, thank you. I get to the bottom of some of these issues here, they need to be resolved. Questions from the June BBA that was sent to the Board of Selectmen office with responses. So basically, so the people are aware that we look at the budget versus actual. And from that meeting that we had back in, I think it was May, we sent a list of questions to the select board office concerning that budget versus actual. And I'm just gonna read this into the record. And this was sent to, Ed Lamontagne's office, June 2nd of 2023. Question, on page 2, line 18, fire support will $42,000 remain to be expended? Answer. Remember, 20K was taken to town meeting, and in May, we paid bills in the amount of 14K, leaving only 8K remaining. Which again, that was validated through the next budget versus actual. Page 3, line 12, building and grounds purchase of the services will have $21,549 remaining to be expended, question mark. Answer. The furnace at all the buildings need to be cleaned and serviced and planned on having this done by June 30. Also, the chimney at Town Hall needs repairs and will be used up a good part of these funds of the 21,000. Question page 4, line 17, 2022 emergency management cert, well, 20,549 remaining to be expended. This will be spent over a few years. It is the funding we got from CARES for volunteer hours that the CERT team put in during that time. And some of those funds were used, I believe, to purchase their ATV thing, right? Right.
So
And, right,
just so I'm clear, we put in a request to be reimbursed for volunteer hours,
yes,
unpaid hours, volunteer.
yes.
And
I
we
guess
got
we did, yeah.
paid,
And the
got
CARES,
paid by the government for volunteer hours
yeah,
that were volunteered unpaid hours.
yes. From COVID money, yeah, from the government. So they use that money and it's been spent, I guess.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. How yes. Page 4, line 18, 2022 Baltimore School caretaking, 6,056 remaining to be expended. This money is the answer is this money, there's to pay utility bills and fixing the buildings from vandalism, which has already happened a couple times. And I think there's cameras out there now. I don't know what type of cameras, motion, whatever they are. Page 4, line 19, River's Edge, $103 remaining will be expended to the general fund. It has been closed and that was actually moved to free cash. Page 4, line 23, police truck. Will 2,708 be expended to return to general fund? Why not expended when truck purchased? Certain things do not come with the truck. Example, radios. One more piece of additional equipment was needed. The remaining will be closed and go to free cash, which it did. Page 4, line 24, DPW MS4 compliance. Will 14,500 remaining to be expended? These funds will be expended, but will probably have to be encumbered. This was suggested from a past advisory member to put on the budget, but it would be prudent to have that part of the capital like it was before the change. Putting it into the budget gives us only the fiscal year to expend. Page 4, line 27, 45 cents can be cleaned up now. Was closed and sent to free cash. Page 5, line 7, 2021, Narragansett Regional School did regional agreement. 21, 9,395 expended money appropriate in 2021, return to general fund, question mark. This will be closed to free cash unless there might be an additional legal bill I am unaware of, which it was closed and sent to free cash. Page 5, line 20, EMS ambulance receipts, 33,142 remaining. Will this be expended this year? This is a very difficult line budget, as I'm being told. It is the on-call people that come in to cover ambulance fire calls. This year, we have not had to call in as many people, and unfortunately, a lot of the call people are working full-time in other departments or towns and can't cover us. So our full-time folks have been working extra. So those dollars were sent back to the general fund and is now enters as free cash. Page 5, line 2931 at the bottom, $17.37. This was brought up several months ago where we asked that it be cleaned up or ever expended. It must be used for some sort of transportation expense. We get such small amounts each year as hard to do with some of it. We are letting it grow to have enough to print a brochure about the MART transportation program. So they're keeping that $17 in there to grow apparently, or get more money each year from MART so they can print brochures about MART transportation programs. Excellent. We'll keep an eye on that one. Page 6, lines 1 and 3 talk about the $58,033. The wetland protection account contains these funds collected from filing fees of notice of intent and requests for determination of applicability. The future of use of these use peer review and conservation specialists is needed. Okay, and obviously he put the filing fees protected under Master Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which I did check, that's the right one. Wetlands Protection Act, it states that to defray state and local admissions costs, each person filing such notice shall pay a filing fee. And that's what that money is used for. Page 6, line 22, Community Preservation Fund, there's $1,481,976 $976 in funds, only expending 6.4%. Present FY 23. How can a large percentage of these funds be used to benefit the town? Question mark. You would need to set up appointment to discuss with the CPA committee, as the town has zero input in these funds. The committee is the only one who has control of these funds, which they are correct by statute. They are the only ones. So if there's which they do have a significant amount of funds available. Page 9, line 18 through 20, police vest grant. $4,594 remaining. Is money going to be used, or is it going to be lost? It is in a revolving fund and is there as we need funds, so we do not lose these funds. So it's a revolving fund that they have these funds in, so they can get their new vests as needed because they have an expiration date of so many years. Page 10, line 7-9, $68,359.99. Remaining only 2.6% of this grant has been expended, and why? It has been discussed. The answer has been discussed, the possibility of use of some of these funds to install large shelter for the center's vans to make it easier to clear them off in the winter. However, Bob has advised the cost of a good quality one would exceed our balance. The senior center assistant, Linda, is paid entirely through the formula grant. You will see updates in your May BVA that has been reclassed to the grant. The grant will help fund many expenditures associated with the kitchen once it's complete. So those funds are still remaining, the 68,000. Page 10, line 10-12, $111,244 remaining library grant. 1.5% of this grant has been spent, and why? This is the state grant fund that we are allowed to build. Most towns use it very sparingly until they find a use for it. The library trustees and Jackie make it the decision on this fund. We have no control over this fund as well, which the town do not have control over that at all. Page 10, line 13 through -15, $13,677 remaining cultural council grant. Only 30% of this grant money has been expended, and why? The cultural council has had a hard time over the last year, as they have had plenty of large turnover in the committee. I know that one of the issues they had in providing their grant funds is we are still recovering from COVID and people are not back fully into events. I expect it to be spent down more in FY 24. And I know they just did a concert up there, which was really nice. By the way, they did a great job. Page 12, line 4, ARPA funds. 219.05 police staffing money. Only 12% of this grant has been expended for a police officer. And why not expended to date? The ARPA funds are expended through the course of multiple fiscal years, and it didn't start right away due to the hiring. The chief and the TA will review the percentage moving forward that may need to be pre-approved by the select board if we propose those changes. We have been phasing the new officer into the budget, which they have, and they did do the hiring. Page 12, line 22-24, $26,611 police station money. Why not expended? Only $52 spent in 23. We anticipate expending this on the HVAC system or other challenges that occur with the police station at this time.
A new police station.
Huh?
Our new police station.
Right, a new police station. I read that into you, so I like a recommendation to file this in. So people are aware that, and I'm gonna probably put this online too, so people can actually see it. So we are, as a committee, we are looking at the BVAs, we are looking at the expenditures and usages, and we are looking at, ways that we can, save money as well as, put money in the right places where it needs to go. So I just want to have a vote to put this into the
In the record,
Into the record. I couldn't think of the word. Jeez, I thought it's getting too late. Into the record.
so moved.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Voted and seconded. It's getting late. I'm sorry, folks.
Doing great.
I see none. Mike? Yes. No?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. This is one thing I'd like to put online. Okay, but we'll talk about that after. So I think that they should know that. All right, great. Okay, let's talk about the transportation cost for a student that's going to Norfolk Agricultural High School and recommendations. Now, we have obviously a student here in town that's going to Norfolk, and there's a transportation issue. And it's a funding issue. And unfortunately, I need some help with that because, the town's not into transportation. But obviously the cost is very important, and this student needs to get to school.
I'd like to speak on this
Sure.
issue. I understand that the initial amount requested for transportation was $60,000, and the cost as
I'll do
through the efforts of Superintendent Casavant,
You're gonna drive it? I'm gonna drive it. I'll do it.
through the efforts of Superintendent Casavant, the transportation cost was reduced to $41,400.
Okay.
Adam had pushed back about this, not wanting it to come out of the town money, and he did meet with a representative from DESE, the State Department of
Yep.
Education. The town has to pay this bill in full pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 74. No way around it. You got to pay it.
Right.
If the town does not pay the bill, DESE can go to the Department of Revenue and seek to have our free cash reduced by the amount of $41,400.
Yep.
We can do that. The bill, $41,400, will be on the town meeting warrant, and we'll have a chance to vote on that. So it's basically, there's nothing, unfortunately, because there's a statute involved, there appears to be nothing that the town can do. I don't like that, but that's the statute.
Mhm. Well, would it be nice to do a recommendation to the select board to stipulate the fact that if, because again, we don't have the contacts and contracts of transportation as the school does, as the business office does, would it be advantageous for them to organize that? Then they just send us a bill? Then
That's
we
what's
pay the
going to
bill?
happen. Superintendent Casavant, he arranged for the transportation
Excellent,
at
okay.
a reduced cost.
Yep.
And the town's going to be sent the bill.
Okay.
We're going to be asked, it'll probably be on the fall town meeting warrant to pay that
For the
bill.
42,000.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and there's nothing we can do about it. Our hands are tied.
All right, so I mean.
We could make a different recommendation, but that's.
No, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's been handled. So I mean, I don't
Been
think at
handled. I
this
think-
point, no recommendations need to be needed or
Right.
handled at this point. 'Cause
I-
it's already being handled.
I would move that it be tabled or
Okay,
no further action taken.
we can just talk about that. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's important. So for the people to know that there was a child out there that needed transportation, you were aware of that, Jeffrey? I mean, that's what the cost was gonna be and who was responsible for that second cost.
Specialty school that they can't find in school any other place. Supposed to know that. It's not like you can just, everybody's just gonna start putting in for busing or whatever to go to the new school they want to go. to.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
We're lucky it's a one-off.
There's not many Aggie schools in
There is not.
Massachusetts.
You would think that'd be up more west versus,
Yes.
you would think, right? But anyways,
We're lucky it's a one-off. I mean, Gardner, some years ago, had a situation where there were 10 students in this situation, and it was over $500,000. So,
Yeah.
and they had to pay it, and the mayor was just apoplectic.
that would definitely hurt the town.
Yeah, it would. The potential to hurt the town is very much there, but it's the statute. The
Right.
town has to pay it, and we
It's a
have no
requirement.
leeway.
And it will be reimbursed, the transportation part will be reimbursed, isn't that correct?
No,
No.
only based on appropriation of funding.
We have to go to the legislature to get them to appropriate the money to reimburse the town, and good luck getting that. You will not get it.
And we were lucky enough to we got 88% this year. Transportation costs are covered. 80, oh, yeah. Yeah, there
But
was a
still-
secondary allotment that came in at the last minute.
Yeah, 88%.
Yeah, I mean, typically we get 70% to 78% typically, but
Is
we,
there gonna be a warrant item that people are gonna vote on?
Yes.
yes.
What happens if it gets voted down?
If it gets voted down, the
Then it goes
state will
up.
take the money out of free cash,
It goes up.
so
Yes,
it's gonna get paid.
yeah, go ahead.
If you have a debt like that, unfunded appropriation, it has a negative impact on your free cash and they will put it on the tax recap sheet.
They sure will.
The tax rate will bump
If-
up to raise that amount of money.
That's correct.
That's right.
It's the law. You,
Yep.
it's the same as if you don't have money to pay snow and ice. If you can't find the money from anywhere.
It gets under the tax sheet.
Impact on your free cash, and they put it on a tax recap sheet to raise that money to cover those costs.
That's correct.
It's-
Right.
Yeah.
That's right, so,
Just housekeeping.
It is.
right,
It is
It's just a house, it's just a housekeeping vote.
But I think it's important for people to know though, at home. I think it's, do we have the questions, by the way? I can't see that, but.
Yeah, we could
Let's
get it
get a
off.
lot of writing up there.
We have some conversation in the comments, but no direct question.
Oh, conversation, okay. I like conversations, great. I just want, again, it's important for me personally for people to know what's happening. And the more information that's out there, the better off the people are that know what's happening.
Right, and I think it's important to clarify that, you know, that other parents drive their kids to Fitchburg or Gardner.
Yep.
But I think it's important to clarify why this is different.
This is different. This is a different situation based on a statute that we are required to pay. Which again, it's being handled, so I'm not, I don't think we need more action on that. Update on the amended to the updated financial management policy. Did everybody get a chance to look at that?
yes.
Okay, any questions? Because I think to go over that, obviously the reserve working capital, obviously went from 60 to 67.5. The 15% to general stabilization is going away. 10% for transfer to capital stabilization, 10% transfer to infrastructure stabilization, and 7.5% transfer to general stabilization fund, and 5% transfer to the OPEB reserve. I think that was the only other. The other change was. Just read it. It was. Yeah, the 0.5% of the prior year's omnibus operating budget towards the general stabilization fund each year until target is reached. That's been crossed out. The town shall target stabilization fund balance of not less than 8% of the prior year's omnibus budget. That's in. Have you had a chance to see that?
It's, I'm aware of the request for an increase to 67%.
Yeah, go on, sir.
What is the reason that the town administrator needs more free cash to play with? It
Well-
goes against the financial management policy. It goes against advice.
That's why it's being changed. And obviously, I'm for this, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when this was generated back in 2018, you know, when I sat down with those folks from UMass, we had a 10-year projection of 1.5 million in 10 years to be in the general stabilization fund. We're at 1.5 million already at general stabilization. So we already met the earmark that we made 10 years ago. We did it in 6 years, which is kudos to everybody in this room and everybody that works for this town. So to offset some of those dollars, because we already met the earmark, not saying we don't want more money in there, of course we do, but obviously we need more money on capital and rolling stock and other things that we need here in the town. So we're not taking from Peter to pay Paul anymore. We're solvent. So we have, 1.5 in stabilization. We have over $1 million in the other stabilization accounts. So I mean, we have money, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like we're taking from somebody to pay somebody
How
else.
much do we have in the capital stabilization fund right now?
It's a great question. I don't have it off the top of my head right now. Is
It's
it 1.6?
it's in there. It's $114,000, I believe, in the capital stabilization fund, not the general.
Right,
Capital
the
stabilization.
general has 1.5 million.
Right,
Yeah. That's
That's
the
not
figure I
right.
gave you.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I got the general.
and the percentage from free cash that's gonna go into capital stabilization is gonna stay at 10%.
Yes.
If you want more money for capital, why do you not increase the percentage going into capital stabilization fund? So you can follow the capital improvements bylaw and the financial management policy, maintaining a certain balance in capital stabilization to pay as you go when you buy capital things. The town administrator wants that money, so he has more money to play with and not being directed or earmarked to go in the certain stabilization funds. We just talked about the bridge, the roads, the drainage, that's infrastructure.
Right.
Stabilization fund. He wants to keep that at 10%.
Right.
But he wants more free cash to pay for capital. He wants more free cash to cover the snow and ice because they don't want to, because his original article was to take.
We're gonna talk about that too in a second.
It has to be dealt, this will have to be dealt with on town meeting floor because I need more money for capital, but you don't want to put more money in capital stabilization fund.
Mhm.
I think this is, that's a bad plan.
Okay, I appreciate your input, Jeff. You know that.
And it doesn't bode well with financial planning.
Well, unfortunately, when
More money.
the town needs dollars, I mean, unfortunately, not for their budget, because again, you should be using free cash for your budget responsibilities anyways.
We've had $8 million in free cash. And this is
No, this
easily,
is going back since 2016.
you can, right on the DLS website.
Yeah.
There's a free cash breakdown.
Yep.
And we've had $8 million. And we have 1.5 in general stabilization, 114,000, $2 million. Where'd the other 6 million go? Anybody know?
Yeah, for rolling stock.
No, they're not all in rolling stock. We've spent $6 million on trucks.
I don't think it was 6 million. I mean,
Then where did that 6 million go? Does anyone have a track on that? Without, again, I can go find it out.
I mean,
but
we'd
go
have to go
all
through
the
town meeting to town meeting, because
records and
also
stuff.
those dollars were spent during town meeting time, during town meeting.
Yes, that's $6 million.
Mhm.
Where did it go?
Well,
And the town administrator wants more money.
Well, as I,
More money
Mr. Chair,
yes,
to,
hold on, Jeff.
not for capital.
Hold on, Jeff. Go ahead.
as I look at it is, the way I read this is, yes, it would be a little bit more free cash. But most of the free cash is going to be spent on rolling stock.
Then what's the capital stabilization fund for?
Well,
And what are our
we're still-
capital
we're
needs?
Still adding to that fund year by year.
$6 million.
A little bit more in the present for rolling stock.
$6 million, not in stabilization funds, and we have a balance in the capital stabilization fund of $114,000. And we've been spending money on capital.
But it's $6 million over a period of what, 7 or 8 years. I
Years.
mean, you're going to spend $6 million over a period of time.
I mean-
I look at this as a way to give a little bit more flexibility.
They say, there you go, flexibility, that means they're gonna use it. I know I'm fighting an uphill battle here, I'm just giving my thoughts.
Use it for what? For, I mean, if the DPW.
It has to
needs
go
an
in front of
extra
town meeting.
truck,
Yes. But again,
And if
The
we see a
case-
warrant, if we see a warrant that says they're not using that dollars for like rolling stock or for town business stuff, town equipment. What do you think we're gonna do? What I'm saying, nah, no. So,
okay,
you see what I'm saying? So I mean, there is the ability that we have here to say, okay, well, we understand what the town's needs are. And the town's needs they're gonna fluctuate because we met the earmark of the 1.5 million.
so I have a question.
Sure.
You have $674,000 of free cash this year,
Mhm.
okay? How much you gonna have next year?
Probably
I-
have the same amount
I
or
don't know.
more, right? I think
How
you'll
much
the
are you
same
gonna have?
amount or more.
Okay, so
I mean, you
the
can't.
capital improvement bylaw says that every year
Mhm.
there is a 5-year plan supposed to be. That's updated every year. So like you get your capital stuff, say the highway department says, I want this, and
Right.
this. They get it in 24. So now they got 4 years. Then now he's got to put something at the end of it. How do you plan to fund that capital items when you don't have a clue as to how much money you're gonna have to spend on capital. If you put the money in, more money in capital stabilization fund, you have a balance to look at. That's what we have right now, and that's what you can plan on spending. If you get more later, then you build that fund up and you can purchase more things, because we just not have trucks to take care of. We have buildings to take care of. We have a cupola in here to take care of.
Yeah.
We have 2 fire stations that are older than dirt.
Yeah.
Look at the police station.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that the needs are great. All I'm saying is that, this year I did some back of the envelope, calculations. It looks like we're gonna have about $415,000 to go towards rolling stock. I don't think that's enough. And I think that if you adopt this, maybe you'll have, I don't know,
No,
a couple $100,000
Again,
more.
we buy like. a
And you're still
six-wheel dump
adding
truck.
to the stabilization fund.
When we buy a 6-wheel dump truck, we have to buy, we just can't go down the street to the guy and say, we want to buy a 6-wheel dump truck. It's gotta be built. And what's a 6-wheel dump truck cost? 400,000 alone?
But that's what I'm saying. Why aren't we growing the fund?
It is growing, by 10%, of the 10% each year. Well, it's each
But
town
in
meeting, I
general,
should say.
not out.
Right.
But if we have a law or a bylaw on the books, why aren't we following?
We are following it. To say we're not, we are following.
where is the 5-year plan? Can you show it to me?
No, I can't, that's not my responsibility.
You can't show it to me because it doesn't exist.
The 5-year plan from who? Capital planning?
Capital Improvement Committee.
Can you do me a favor? Can you make a note for because you're on the
Yeah.
capital? Can you write that down? So when next meeting you have, you can bring that up because I want to know where that is. Because
I have it right in front of me.
that would be great.
But I can produce it.
Okay,
It's
I
not
just think
a,
that it's a bad thing to give when I hear the flexibility.
well, you know what? I understand that the other departments in this town, they don't like that word either, obviously, because we're dealing with other.
And
issues.
remember, we have a $97,000 a year lease coming out of free cash for the next 4 years. Well, it's this year, it's 5
yes,
years.
but it
5 years.
replaces an
So that's already
existing,
spent.
yeah, but it replaces an existing lease that you had. The overall dollars are not increasing. They're the same.
Next year's free cash, you have to take that 9750 out of it.
Right.
But you've been taking that, an amount approximately like that out for the past several years. So the overall increase, it's the same.
We haven't had a lease coming out of free cash. Someone needs to look at the financial history of the town.
Oh, I have.
You know,
I mean, what do we have in 2012?
what happens next year? Just think if free cash in 12, now 14 was the big,
It was, what people don't realize is when we got all the audits done, I want people to understand this. When we got all the audits done, finally in 2016, 2017, and free cash was released. Do you remember that amount was? It was about 1.5 million. So we didn't see free cash from 2013, 14, 15, 16, nothing. So they're like, whoa. So talking to the Department of Revenue, talking to the State House, all those folks up there, they're like, oh, well, how come only, my concern was only 1.5 million? What do you mean? I mean, from before, like in 2009 and 10 and 11, there was like almost $1 million a year. So I'm like, so you're telling me that we had almost like millions of dollars in deficit? Yep. That's what they said. Yep. I mean, how was that possible?
so if the free cash.
Yeah.
That you're talking about in 2011 was 686,628.
In 12?
It was 12 was 189,081. In
Wow.
13, it was 100,000. In 14, there was a $27,000 deficit. And then you get at 18, it was 1,042,000. It went to 1,572, 1,004,
That was in 2020.
1,327, 1,134, 1,168, and now we're down to 674,
Right.
which is, if you go back, 2006 was 1,366. It's an odd year. but
Right,
it's been averaging 500,000-600,000.
right.
The problem is people got used to that big 1,000,003, 1,000,004,
Yep.
which, by the way, Carter Terenzini said a few years back, that was not sustainable.
It was not, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, even we knew that wasn't gonna be sustainable.
So if
Because-
676 is 674 is good budgeting, what happens next year when good budgeting leads to 500,000?
Well,
See.
obviously, you know, we,
It's the stabilization funds are the funding mechanism to cover the cost of all the capital stuff,
right, I mean.
because we're not planning. We're just, well, I got this much to spend, we'll spend it.
Well, that's one of the other recommendations that this committee is gonna come up with probably in November, because I want to look at all the vehicles. We should have a some type of document, spreadsheet with all our rolling stock, the years of it, mileage, whatever, and that should be done in like an annual thing to have.
You mean an inventory of the town?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Don't start with me.
no.
But
So,
that's important, because then
Well, it
that will
is.
show, and that would give us the ability to have projections and have projections for future of what we're gonna need. But I can tell you, if I can, I mean,
Don't ruffle my log ethos.
I'm not, I think it's important to have
Oh,
that,
heck yeah.
you know,
You
'cause-
think?
yeah. Because how else are you gonna do business that way?
How do you know what your depreciation rates are? How do you
Right.
know what equipment is overdue for replacement?
Right,
You do not have an accounting of all your rolling stock capital. equipment.
right,
You can't manage your future plan that way. You can't.
right.
What happens?
Do we
Oh,
have
it's
that?
broken. We need a new one.
what about buildings, furnaces, all that stuff?
Yeah, how
Upkeep,
old are
when
our
do they need to
furnaces?
be replaced?
Right.
How old are furnaces?
Well, this is brand new one here.
So
Right, I got you. All right,
that's just my concern as a resident who tries to watch stuff.
no, I got
Is
you.
giving the town administrator more money to play with, and you're leaving the levels of funding for the stabilization funds, like capital and infrastructure. They're not gonna grow
Well, I
fast
mean-
enough to keep up with inflation.
Well, this is a policy. Now, policies can be redone every single year. Policies can be redone.
If you don't follow them, they're not worth.
No, you need,
Print
that's
it up.
why it's important to do these things, to have these changes made, because if you don't do these changes and you don't follow the policy, why have it? That's what's important. You have to follow it. And I went through it. I mean, I know there's been a lot of chatter out there that people aren't following this, people aren't following the policy, people aren't doing this, people
And-
making mistakes left and right.
You might remember when
Tired.
the policy was first written.
Yep.
It was 50%.
It was.
For working, and then it went to 60, and now it's to 67.
Yeah.
And that's less money going into the stabilization funds each time you increase the play money.
Right, you have to be, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And obviously,
Philosophy is different. Thank you.
which is okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right, so I got,
We did have one question over the YouTube comments.
Sure, go ahead.
Already answered this.
What is it?
Bob May asked, quote, does anyone here know the town's inventory? How do you know the needs? You may have answered this.
yeah,
Yes.
well, that's a great question because we don't know. I mean, that's,
I think we just said
I
that.
think that's the bottom line, right? We don't know. And I think one of the recommendations from this committee would be to understand what our rolling stock are, what are, you know, based on serial number, things that you're supposed to do the right way.
Create a property book for the town.
Like yeah, exactly, like a property book. I mean, how hard would that be?
Department have this in there, like,
Excuse me?
wouldn't each, like, the police department would know this information and
Should,
and the highway.
they should.
You should have a but you need to have a consolidated roll.
You need you need to
Everything.
consolidate. I mean, you could separate it by department, but you need a sheet that people can see and say, okay, like, and then put projections out there.
That's
but-
how you lose stuff.
Yeah, I mean, remember all those tools we lost?
I didn't lose anything.
All right, so anyways, on the updated amendment policy, I need a recommendation and a vote on this.
I would move to make a motion to do the changes that's written.
A motion to change as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Let's keep an eye on this, though. Especially coming up in the next 2 fiscal years, specifically the 25 and 26 years. Because obviously our funds need to be expended by 26, and obviously the school budget for 25 is going to be something to really look at. All right, discussion recommendation on 10 Pleasant Street project. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion on 10 Pleasant Street, and I wanted the people to know what our recommendations are to the select board concerning that. Obviously, it is to be sold, would be the recommendation. I think we can vote on it, but I would think it would need to be sold, and whatever dollars that are made from that property of sale need to be put back into the what was that?
Demolition.
The demolition fund.
Demolition
That was
revolving,
designed as a revolving
the
fund.
demolition revolving fund, not infrastructure stabilization.
Yeah, I had that wrong. You're right. That was wrong. I apologize. That was my fault. That was wrong. And so, because I was looking at the financial management policy. But the demolition fund is a special legislation policy, special legislation that was passed. So, which is not actually in the policy, which I then also made a comment that I think that needs to be in the policy as well, somewhere in a small, just so we can see like where that money is, and that we have that revolving fund as well for the demolition, which I think, Jeff, you helped initiate that, I believe, right?
I did,
Yeah, that was a good idea.
That's where the money has to go. Or else
Money,
we're
I
gonna
think-
be, or else we're gonna be dumping more money into the revolving demolition fund every town meeting, asking for more money and more money and more money.
That's what Jeff does. He acts like $100,000 all the time.
If we replenish it as we go.
Still be standing.
I know.
$2,500 a year.
I got you. Yes, Gail.
Oh, does anyone know where Lori is in land court in combining those two properties?
That's a great question.
It's ongoing.
And I don't have the answer. It's ongoing. But I can tell you that you can't put that on MLS. There's some talk out there that people are like, well, just put it on MLS and sell it. I'm like, you can't do that. It's actually against the law.
No, that's on the land.
It's town property. It's a whole different process of sale and how to sell town property than putting it on MLS like a sale of a private home. It's very too bad. It's definitely, it's not as hard. But it's more challenging because you can't put it on MLS.
But you can start at a minimum.
Excuse me?
You could list it on your own. That's when you put it
I
on the
may-
list.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. It's a land court property, and the land court is a very unique court. I've had dealings with them. They're very precise. They're very slow. The end result that you get will be perfect, but it's just a long
We're looking
process.
at least 6 to 9 months.
Well, I mean,
It's even
Laurie's
longer than
pretty,
that.
Laurie's pretty good. She's on top of it.
9 months at expedited.
I mean, these town employees, I mean, you gotta give them their dues. I mean, they're working, they're doing the job. I mean, it's just, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, just to correct something.
Yes.
My mind on a different figure. There is 152,000 in the capital stabilization fund, so.
Correct. Thank you for the correction. I was only looking at the general, so I didn't even, no worries, I appreciate that. So I just want, again, more informational. I mean, there's no recommendation needed because I think that the town, has its own projection anyways to obviously have Templeton, once land court is completed, that property will be sold and those dollars will be moved to the demolition fund, the revolving fund, for future plans, which I know that department is working on other properties as well. So they're doing their due diligence, so just so everybody is aware. I know this is a long meeting, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yes,
We have another YouTube comment.
comment or question?
Question
Okay,
from Mr. May.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the recent DLS report regarding properties of tax takings?
I have.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
Two.
Yeah, warrant pre-town meeting and all that stuff. Obviously the warrant was open to the public, open August 9th, and it closes September 28th. The projection for the fall town meeting is November, based on The bylaw, it can't surpass, I think, the 15th, if I remember correctly, November 15th, cannot surpass that day. So I'm not sure exactly what day the select board have in mind for that. So obviously we will cover down on our projection of the pre-town meeting within the period of time, 10 days prior, and make sure everything's public within 2 days based on the bylaw. But I want everybody to know, and there was also a question, I think it was you, Jeff, that asked, the warrants open all year round, so why does it open and close? Is that a question? Did you have that question? Was that answered?
That was a concern.
Was it answered?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, I can give you the answer. It's open all year round because any resident, as long as they have 200 signatures, can actually have their own town meeting. Special town meeting, as long as they have 200 signatures. If they don't have 200 signatures, say they have, 25 or 30 or 50 or 100, well, they can still turn it in to the town hall, but it will not be pushed forward until the open date and the open date of the warrant. Does that make sense?
What I actually asked for was a copy of,
Where it is?
what I asked for.
Yeah.
The town administrator was a copy of the law or a legal opinion where he gets that assumption that the town meeting warrant is open all year long.
Okay, I have it.
Because they open it for citizens petition. If it's open all year long.
Yep.
Then you could submit citizens petition for the annual town
You
meeting.
sure can. You can,
Then why do they open the warrant and only accept them then?
because if you get 200 signatures, you can have,
A special town meeting
special town
anytime you
meeting.
want.
That's correct. That's why it's open all year
But
round.
that's calling the meeting is different from the warrant.
Well, you have to have the warrant open or to get a special town meeting. If you have 200 signatures. So if you got 200 signatures on a specific thing, you can have your own pre-town meeting. You know what I mean? You can have your own.
You submit 200 signatures.
Yes.
For citizens to call a special town meeting like they did in January a few years ago to do a bylaw change. Right.
Right.
So you set the date for that meeting. Now you have a warrant. And they call it for whatever, but you can add, things can be added to that.
Sure can.
And our
Yeah,
bylaw
yeah.
says they have to be open for a certain period of time and then closed.
Right, but we're not talking about that right now. Because that's a whole another.
But that is not what my question was about
Okay,
to the town administrator, because he says we assume that the warrant for the selectmen is open all year long. My question was,
Mhm.
where is a copy of the law that you use to make that statement or the legal opinion? That's what I was asking for.
okay, I'll make, I have that written down. If he doesn't get it to you, I will. Okay, all right. So just so people are aware about, pre-town meeting, what's happening, because we are looking at that. And as soon as the warrant gets voted on, we will get a copy. Because that's, again, one of our jobs that we need to really maintain and focus on. Okay, our discussion and recommendation on the light pilot agreement recommendation for the Board of Selectmen. This is kind of huge. Because obviously there is no pilot. There hasn't been a pilot. There's been a lot of discussion about it. There's nothing that's being driven home yet. And it's really starting to concern me, especially when, departments, especially water, come to select board meetings and request money of opera funds and get $300,000. But we don't get a pilot. The pilot again, I just sent you guys an email today concerning
I read it.
the pilot and how pilots are formulated based on, I sent it today.
I read it and I have a comment.
Okay, good. So based on what I've seen so far, it looks to be between $110,000 and $120,000 would be the pilot. Based on based on the numbers that I did. I mean, my numbers could be wrong. And it was based on the information I sent out today on the pilot information. My recommendation, because again, they don't want to give us money. They specifically like cash. They don't want to move cash from like Light and Water to Templeton, the town, which I understand and I respect that. This town for many years had some many issues. Not that we don't have issues now, because we still have issues now, and we're trying to resolve those issues, hopefully in a way that, the people understand, And I understand, and we all can, play nice in the same sandbox and use everybody's toys. But it comes to a point what agreement can we get for this pilot? I mean, we keep talking about it. Select board talked about it. Jeff's been talking about it for, I don't know how, 20 years. What can we do? I guess my recommendation, again, that I would suggest, my suggestion would be that the fire department needs certain equipment, certain lease equipment, certain whatever. They've been giving the fire department around $75,000-$80,000 per year for the last few years. I don't know if anybody was aware of that, but the light and water was doing that. They didn't do it this year. I want that to continue. And I would also recommend that, why are the townspeople paying twice for services? Meaning, why do we have to pay for lights, water, and sewer of town buildings when we already paid? So now, not only do we pay, but then whatever tax money that comes in from us, we have to pay it again. We are a municipal town. This is a town, villages of town. This is Templeton. I mean, I don't understand how it could be that we have to pay for our own electricity, sewer, and water. I just don't understand that.
I mean, we technically own those.
Right.
It's weird.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So my suggestion would be not only the fire department, get X amount of dollars potentially, but I think they should absorb all municipal light, water, and sewer costs, which will be encompassed part of the pilot. And I think that would pretty much call us even. And at this point, I mean, they sent us a bill. We have 24's payment already. I'll say was already forecasted. We have that. But they sent us a bill in 23 that didn't come to us till late. And now we're on the hook for something like $5,000 some odd dollars to the light department. I'm like, what? I mean, $5,000? I'm like, are you kidding me? You're gonna come to the table and ask for $300,000 for pipes, but you can't absorb $5,000? So this is going to town floor. It's gonna be a warrant article from what I understand. And it's a 9/10 or 9/10 vote, 7/10, whatever the vote is. I forget what it is. 9/10.
4/5.
4/5? I forget
I'm
what
not
it was,
sure,
but it was,
it's an unusual.
it's an unusual,
That would
like,
be 8/10.
Yeah.
something unusual. Do you remember what it was, Jeff?
What,
The vote would it be 9? Was it 9, 8?
To create a pilot?
No, there's a vote that once it goes to town meeting floor, say that there's an outstanding bill and it goes to town floor for the people to vote on this bill. So my question was like, well, if the people vote no on this bill, because I can tell you right now, I'm gonna vote no when I see it, because I don't think that's right.
from the emails I received.
Yeah.
Through a public records request. Light department did not include in their budget submission, their expense, the
Right.
cost of the town for electric, for the town buildings, this and that. They didn't include, I believe it's the street lighting.
Yeah, it was $17,000, but we
So-
ended up paying some of it.
And again, how are you gonna ask town meeting to pay a late bill for a bill that you never received? They never sent it to us.
No,
Never sent it.
no.
They noticed it.
So my question
Yeah.
is, so this goes to town floor with a warrant. And it needs a special, X amount of votes, say. Which, knowing the fact that the select board, well, I don't know how they're gonna vote, but, or how this committee is gonna vote. But I could tell you how I would vote. I'd be like, no.
How do you pay a late bill when you never got the bill?
Right.
And I thought the town had the issues with handling money and so forth. There's no issue with the water department
I'm not even gonna. vote.
not having money,
I'm not gonna. vote.
I believe I would ask, or my thought is on the pilot thing and paying for town water, sewer, and electric.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of idiotic, this is plain language.
Yeah.
Whatever they submit for a cost that they want the town to pay for town electric. Our indirect cost to process your bills and payroll and all of that
Yeah.
is that amount.
Thanks, Jeff. I
But yes,
looked at it as well.
that was the streetlights, then they never submitted a bill to the town, and now they want to be paid after the fact and paying a late bill that you never received.
Right.
If town approves that, they're
It's not gonna happen, Joe.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
There's a couple of things I'd like to say.
go ahead, Seth.
Um,
I need a drink
I,
of water.
I think the basic problem is that we don't know, we don't know how much that the light department has available to pay pilot money to the town. We just don't know that. And I've heard numbers that range from $50,000 all the way up to $800,000 or $900,000. And I think that we don't seem to have a firm number as to, what the light department is able to pay year in and year out without affecting their operations adversely. We just don't seem to know that number.
How come their number is-
Wait,
Hold on.
we just don't know that number. So I just, I think the best way is to talk with John or board members, talk with them perhaps informally. But I also think the other way to do it is, the same way we do comps is there are 60 municipal light departments, 60 towns have municipal light in the Commonwealth. And at least 10 of them must be towns that are similar in size to Templeton. And it just seems to me that if you look at the comps, and if you find out a range of numbers, that's, let's say, the numbers I gave were between, 50,000 and 800,000. But if you look at the comps and it shows that it's between $300,000 and $600,000, just to throw that out, then that is what I would suggest that is what we should go to the light department and say, based on these other comps and the like, and you should be paying pilot to the town of this range a year. So
Right.
establish a number, establish a range, and we haven't done that. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, number and range. Okay, I got it. But then usage, because again, I want to meet them halfway. I would like to meet them halfway. I think this committee would like to meet them halfway to say, well, if you don't want to expend those dollars directly to the town, because obviously, whatever issues that the organization has with the town specifically because of, our poor financing abilities that we had back in the, in the day. Well, then we come to the table with the plan, like, the lease for our vehicle for the fire department, say 80,000+ a year, or which that's what they were paying for.
They want a
the-
specific need.
They
and
want a
that's
specific-
need, and that's what we should supply them, is
Right.
a specific need.
Right, and I think paying the light, water and sewer bills of the municipal buildings should be incorporated in there, because I don't think it's fair that the townspeople have to pay twice. Because they're already paying their own, then they have to pay their taxes, which are paying it again. Which makes, I don't think that's fair. I mean, if this was like a National Grid situation or an Eversource situation, I got it. I think we can, and even then, we still can work with those companies. To get discounts and stuff like that. But I mean, you're working with our own electric resource, our own water resource. I'm like, I don't understand why this is so challenging.
But sitting in John Driscoll's shoes is he wants a set number that's fair to him.
He does.
And the town wants a set number that's fair to the town. So we need to come up with a number. And I think by doing the comps, you can at least come up with a range. And then by talking with John, you can come up with, whether the range is feasible or
All right,
not.
can you do me a favor then? Can you do that for
I'll
me?
do the comps.
Can you do the comps for me?
Yeah, I'll do the comps.
And then,
Sounds like we need a mediator.
you guys okay back there?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, I'll do the comps. I
that
think it
way-
needs
then
to
we
be
can
done.
come
It's
back
never
to
been
the
done
meeting.
before.
No.
Then we can go back to John and say, these are the comps.
at least we can go with him with a set, something
Right,
tangible.
right,
Okay. And then we can do the recommendation to the select board to say, hey, this is what needs to take place.
right.
Yes, Yes.
If I may,
sure, what's up?
I can, I have it readily available, so I could send it to you electronically, most likely, if I still have it. For an example, Ashburnham has a municipal light department. They had an article on town meeting and they did a town meeting vote on a formula for a pilot. So the light department that'd be their contribution each year, based off of that formula.
Mhm.
Now, the formula stays consistent. And generally, I've seen it, I think it's the last couple of years, it's somewhere between $65,000 and $80,000. But it's kind of a consistent number, but it's based off of that formula that went to town meeting
Yeah, I have.
and was voted
I
on.
had I think it was from the DLS that has a formula for pilots as well.
But no, this is what
Yeah.
the light department.
If you want to send me comps, I would welcome any comps you could send me.
That they put in front of town
Okay.
meeting. It's there, I know there is a Public Power Association page that has a formula on
Yes.
there. Last time I did it, it would have come out to been about 400 grand, but I don't see
It's not like that now.
them agree.
Right.
But if you did the formula based off the numbers that the light department puts out,
Once we get those numbers.
and one other way would be to use Mass General Law 164, section, I think it's 56, where the light manager is obligated to come to the selectmen and give an accounting of their monies.
Yes.
What's that chapter and section again?
What's that?
56.
164,
164.
section 56.
I believe it's 56. I'll double check that and let you know.
All right, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you. Very helpful.
All right, so you're gonna bring that to the next meeting as far
Yes,
as the comps.
we'll
Okay,
do the
I'll do
comps,
that. Where am I?
Yes.
Comps. Did I keep notes of those? I'll forget. Moving on S.
Yes.
Recommend that the select board and advisory write a letter asking the Worcester County Retirement Board to move the catch-up year from the present 2036 to 2040 as permitted by state statute and in attendance. No, you want to talk about that one? And why we're requesting or recommending
Yes,
that?
At present, about 18% of the town's budget goes to the Worcester County Retirement Board. They have also stated that they're going to increase the required contribution by the town by 9 to 10% over the next several years. Over the next, between now and the year 2036, the town is going to pay an average of $2 million plus a year to the Worcester County Retirement Board. In the year 2036, this is a catch up for not paying them enough in the past. You know, Templeton and many other towns paid little or nothing, and there was a huge deficit. And so the legislature basically passed this corrective legislation that said that the towns had to catch up on the pension payments by a window of between the year 2036 and 2040. The Worcester County Retirement Board picked the year 2036. What that means is that if we have 13 years left, if the years were moved back, at least in theory anyway, if the years were moved back an additional 4 years, there would be a potential savings, and I say this might be a potential savings to the town of $600,000 per year. That's a back of the envelope, calculation. Basically what you're doing is you're paying out, instead of paying $2 million a year, you're gonna pay $1.5 million a year over more years.
Right.
What we don't know and what we need to talk with the Worcester County Retirement Board about is there a penalty for doing this? But say you had to pay a penalty of $50,000 extra a year to save $500,000, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
But if the penalty was $600,000 a year to
That
save
makes no sense.
$500,000, that's not good. And obviously, there's different scenarios in between. That's if they require a penalty,
Right.
if they would assess a penalty. But this is allowed by statute. I believe that it's the Worcester County Retirement Board that has that authority to move within those years. But the problem is there's 100 towns in the within the Worcester County Retirement Board, and so for them to move the goalposts, so to speak, I don't think they could do it just for Templeton. They probably have to do it for every city and town. So there's just angles to it and aspects to it, but because of the large dollar amounts and potential savings, involves the town, it's worth, talking to them, and we don't seem to talk with them, even
Right.
though it's 18% of the town's budget. I mean, the auditor talks, on a fairly regular basis, and the town treasurer talks on a fairly regular basis, but I'm not aware of the select board or advisory or, just having a sit down with them and talking about this.
Right.
And it's not like the retirement board is hurting for money.
Well, that's the other aspect, is that they had $800 million in their fund. And it increased by $250 million. And yet they're asking for the town for 10% more money than what was paid last year, even though they gained, a really enormous percent. They lost a lot of it. They lost a lot of that $250 million gain, but they're still ahead, and they're still asking the town for more money, which I don't think I think that's fundamentally unfair.
All right, so what do you be your recommendation then? What do you think we should recommend to the select board this time?
I think that we should write the letter, asking about the, the period of time. And also I think that somebody from the town, I am certainly willing to do that. They meet. I think that somebody from the town should meet with the chief executive officer of the Worcester County Retirement Board to discuss these issues. It's something that I've had on my mind and would be willing to do.
Okay. So, all right. So you're gonna.
Maybe I could meet with them first, and then we could make a specific, we could make a recommendation as to, moving that time period.
Okay.
Well, obviously you don't need to write the letter if the executive officer says it's just out of the question.
I have.
Then you have to go another avenue.
Right,
Right.
right. But again, we're trying to turn over every rock here to look at every financial aspect that the town has in order to, save and or move dollars to where it needs to be moved, i.e. like personnel or, other things that the town needs.
Yeah, I do want to point out one other item is that, the intent is not to reduce any pension benefits or any
Oh, right.
benefits
No,
for
no.
retiree. But also by moving the date out there is the potential of a town employee getting a 1 or a 2% bump in their pay by doing that, because they are contributing to this deficit.
Right.
Every town employee is contributing. So if you lower the payment of the town, you're also lowering the payment that the individual employee has to make.
Yeah, right.
So this could be potentially a way to provide our employees with a small bump. And again, very.
Well, you make a. Okay, I see. Would you want to, reach out to what's their retirement?
I will
chief?
reach out to them, yes.
At least get the intel and then we can
Yes, and
bring that
report
back to the
with
next
board.
meeting.
Yes.
So I think that's important. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Just sounds like the building's leaking.
It's leaking? Yes, sir.
What happens in 2036 regarding the town's costs when they get to where they want to go? Is our cost going to drop off?
Our costs will drop off, but you will have to pay them through another avenue. It will. When you look at the charts, it looks like it's going to drop from $2 million to $500,000, but that's not realistic, because it will drop from 2 million, but not all the way to like 500,000. It will still be
1 point something mil.
Yeah, it'll be something, it will drop, but it won't be a huge drop. It might be like a 20 or a 25% drop, but that's pure speculation.
But I'm just thinking the sooner you get it paid to where the level that they want to go, then our costs will drop down sooner rather than.
Yeah, we looked at that too, but actually to do that would really cause the town some serious issues financially. Because I know there was towns that did that. I can tell you.
Which way saves us more?
Wellesley did it. Wellesley, they did it, I think it was an override or some type of
Yes, they
tax
did. They
thing.
borrowed the entire amount.
Yeah, and they just paid it, but they're still paying.
And Leominster they put as much money as they could away, and when they finally got to their level, they had an extra like 325,000 or so freed up. It's not saving, it's just freed up money
Right.
that's going here, that's going somewhere else.
Yeah, but you know what they're paying for all their employees in Leominster, I mean, or,
I'm just curious as,
Yeah, this is savings. There'll be a savings, but the town's still gonna have to pay money to the Worcester County Retirement Board every year.
I'm like kicking the can down the road longer than necessary.
right, no, just like the other town projects that we have, like the water tank that we have to go to like 2040 something.
Greater than the
Or
money.
2050 years.
Paying about 30 years.
Well, don't worry, more to come, more to
We don't
come.
know, because it's future money.
All right, so let's go into,
Nice,
T. Yeah, revisit snow and ice deficit budget. This is everybody's favorite topic, which is not really mine, but I know I put it on there for a reason. Because I went through like all the numbers and
Torture us.
I don't want to torture anybody, but I want to come up with a decent recommendation to the select board on what we're supposed to do in order to achieve, what we're paying, because right now, I mean. What was the total in 2022 was 317,000. In 21 it was 233,000, and in 2020 was 264,000. And obviously it depends on the year and depending on how much snow we have.
And those
Yeah.
are actual,
What's that?
are those actuals?
Yes, yes, they are actual numbers. Yep.
We made a recommendation several months ago that it be bumped up $30,000 a year over
Right.
a period of
Over
years.
5 years, right?
Yes, and I think that's still a valid recommendation.
Okay, do I maintain that one? Okay,
Because when I looked at it,
To, you said,
it would take us from $148,000 to roughly
$50,000 in
$250,000.
5 years.
Yes, which is still not enough.
No.
Because you could go all the way up to, I think, $275,000 and still have a deficit.
Right.
So what is the law? What is the snow and budget
As far as what, Gil?
as far as forecasting and budgeting?
We budget right now $148,000 a year, but the actual expense, it's one of the very few items that the town can deficit spend. And the actual amount this year will probably be
Who knows?
close to double that if it's a bad winter.
Who knows? And, I know you're gonna be chiming in too, Jeff, but
I was the one who asked that question on town floor.
Yeah.
And, they said that we couldn't go below a certain number. Right, it's not true.
well, what they were saying is, once you get to a certain point, say $150,000, say, the following year, you're supposed to go like 2% more, because if you go under that, then there's some type of, I don't know what the penalty is or what the actual specific law is. But I know that they're not gonna, you're not gonna go down anyway. So I think at the end of the day, the whole feeling of like having snow and ice at a certain amount, which I think we projected $30,000 for 5 years added to snow and ice, with the projected having like $250,000 in there. Is that gonna be enough? No. But say we only use 200,000, does that mean we can't project snow and ice the next year? And where does that $50,000 goes? Well, that would go back into, I would assume, free cash based on the general fund. But that still means we still have to request or do the same allotment for the following year of $250,000. We're not gonna get penalized for that. Is that what you're asking me? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
But will we? Yeah, if we forecast more than we use. It'll still be our money.
yes. It goes back, whatever's not used at the end of the year, it goes back into the general fund and comes out on the other end as free cash.
Or it can be transferred
It
to
can.
something else.
Prior to.
Town meeting.
So why can't we be more realistic about it?
We're trying to be, that's why
Trying to get there.
we're trying to get there. That's why we're recommending.
Without choking it in the first
Right,
year.
we're recommending $30,000 added per year for the next 5 years to cap it at about 250,000. Based on the data that we've had, the give and takes of the different snow years, I mean, that's where we're in the middle. We'll be like in the middle. Does that mean there'll still be a deficit in some years? Yes, there will be.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I studied it and concluded that we could go to $280,000 and probably still run a deficit.
Right,
Um,
because again, everything's going up. Again, we converted to salt, which again was a great suggestion, which a great avenue But, because it helps on the other end too, like man hours, cleanup and all that stuff. There's definitely pros and cons to everything, but I thought that was great.
That's
You know,
where we're at.
having the salt shed, having the salt, having the vehicles, you know, all those vehicles, maintained to do salt, work. Even the shed, I think the shed's being built soon, which was a great idea. I want to thank those folks too for doing that. Building the salt shed for the residents. So that would be undercover, which would be great. But that will be a sand salt mix, which I think is great. But people need to realize, don't put that on cement though. It will eat your cement. Salt does eat your cement. So you want to be careful with that. But that was, but anyways, where I was going. I went down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry.
It's like $30,000.
$30,000 per year for the next 5 years was our recommendation. I'm hoping that the select board, hinder that. I mean, I hope they listen because I mean, I think it's realistic, but again, it's like, where do the dollars come from and how do the dollars come? And looking at services, I mean, people complain like, well, what services do we get? I mean, between fire, police, highway, elder services, veteran services. I mean, there are services in town. I mean, sometimes you don't see them, but they're there. It's really challenging to provide services to a community that started at like, 5,000 or 6,000 folks. And now we're, 8,000 to 9,000 folks, where people are still moving in to Templeton. Last count, that was like 120, 130 kids in the last year and a half. I mean, they legit have like 5 kindergarten classes, 5 first grade classes. I'm like, this is, we didn't project this to happen. I mean, when that school was built, we didn't project this amount of kids. But my point being is how we have to look at the financial point of how do we service those folks in Templeton? How can we service everybody in Templeton with the amount of services that we have? Meaning like even emergency services, fire, police, etc. I mean, we have fire trucks and we have an ambulance that's paramedic certified. And I mean, they're always busy. I mean, who does the backup? I mean, should we have 2? But then who does the manning for that? Because right now we have 6 paid firefighter paramedics. We need at least 10. And who pays for that? Because that's $100,000 per firefighter paramedic. That's pay, allowance, and benefits. So who does that? That's another, $400,000 right there. See, and the misuse of like words back in the day of that ambulance receipts would pay the 100% of the bill was never correct. And I didn't swallow that pill at all. I knew it was wrong to begin with. That's why they got that override back in the day for $500,000. Remember that? It was the only one that passed in like 20 years. Well, other than the school. But I mean, it's important for people to realize that. Well, let's move on. So the snow and ice, that's all set. The self-insurance idea for Monty Tech as the model. We talked briefly on, again, self-insurance is a great program. It's a risky program at times. I know we were going to look at just the dental program part of that to be if we could do dental under the self-insured process. Can you explain more about that since you don't mind?
I don't mind.
Okay.
I don't mind. We met with Tammy Crockett. It was Adam and John and myself. We met with Tammy Crockett, who's the business manager at Monty Tech. We met with her last spring towards the end of the school year, and she explained Monty Tech's self-insurance program. And basically what their program is, it's a school that's similar in size, similar number of employees as Narragansett, Narragansett Regional School System. So so it's really a close comparison in that aspect. What they do is that they are self-insured for the first $60,000 of a medical claim. And then an amount over and above $60,000, they have a reinsurance company that, pays claims that are over $60,000. It has been successful for a number of years. They've had it ever since the school was founded 50 years ago. So they've been self-insured for the last 50 years. They've had that. They have, I believe they've created a fund with savings over the years, and there's a considerable amount of money in the fund. Their claim history The danger of it is that if you have a large number of claims that are under $60,000, the Monty Tech example is they have about 200 employees who are, self-insured. In a typical year, they have between 8 and 13, 14 people who they have to pay up some money, and that's pretty consistent year in and year out. The downfall of it, or the danger of it is if you had a spike, like say 50 people instead of 10 people, then that would really not be good. But if the claims history is stable, as Monty Tech's appears to be, then it is workable. What we are trying to advise is that our town, our school district look into the feasibility of this. And also with the additional recommendation is that perhaps we try the dental portion only, which is a small slice of it, and try that for 3 or 4 years and see if that works. And then, maybe, and then gradually expand it if it appears to be feasible. And it may not be feasible. It may not be feasible, but it does appear that Monty Tech saves, I don't have the exact number, but it appears to be a number between $200,000 and $300,000 in savings a year. And so it's not a small number. And it appears to have been that, consistently that amount year in and year out.
Right. Yeah, right now. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, yes.
Quick question. Have we looked at the claims history of Templeton to compare it with the claims history of Monty Tech, so you could get like a side by side to see if it would match up right out the gate?
You know,
No. I think that's the best way that, no, I think, in discussions, that there's a rough comparison because the two districts are roughly the same size, but but there is a demographic age difference. I think our employees are somewhat older. So, and then obviously, the older you are, the more claims there tend to be. So that hasn't been done. And what our recommendation has been is to look at it, and that would really be the first step, is to do, side by side comparison.
and have that feasibility study done, independently. I mean, either one of us or somebody like that to actually look at that, to provide input. to the select board.
Yeah, because quite candidly, if under the Monty Tech model, if the claims were just a small number higher, it really wouldn't be feasible. And that could very well be the case.
And I know there's some work I know the town's trying to collaborate with all our partners out there. I mean, we did with the light and water under the same umbrella of the same insurance, which is great, because the more people you have under the policy, the better it's going to be. I do know that there's been talks, and I think moving forward with the regional school district, I think if they came under the same umbrella, which I would hope that they would, versus paying the amount of dollars, I think it went up 18% last year, their insurance. I think it went up like 18%, if I remember correctly, based on their reports that they gave, was 18%, which was a lot. I mean, that's, you're talking millions. We're not talking like $100,000 here. So to come under our umbrella where we're at still low at 2-3%, wherever we are now, it's low. That would definitely entice, I would hope, our partners out there to come under the same umbrella to reap the benefits that that all the full-time employees are getting. So, I mean, obviously, so going forward, I think the recommendation would be to the select board to do a feasibility study on dental only, which would include obviously comparison data, et cetera.
Need a motion and vote, Mr. Chair.
I do. So the motion would be for the advisory committee to recommend a feasibility study on the dental only for self-insurement.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
No,
Yes,
and I vote yes, yeah, I vote yes as well. Can you help me with that, the
yes.
study? Okay, I just want to make sure I get the recommendation right.
Yes.
B, I put on a discussion spending request recommending an increase to the advisory reserve fund of 25,000 at the fall town meeting. We're gonna table that. We're gonna table that. I got some other information today that's gonna be,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Kim. That's gonna be, beneficial to the community. So we're gonna leave it as it is and relook at that at the annual town meeting. Because again, I want to make sure that we have an account that's for emergency funds that's reasonable and suitable for the growth that's happening right now in the community. Because, $50,000 just isn't, enough, I mean, at all. So we'll re-engage that at another meeting. So we'll table that. Okay, discuss, recommend the select board and the advisory write a letter to the Narragansett Regional School Committee and Superintendent Casamant that the FY 25 that money will be tight and that town will have a limited ability to raise the town's contribution to the school budget with corresponding increases to the state aid to the town side of the budget. Because obviously when the state aid goes up, our contribution goes up as well. It doesn't go down, it goes up. So whatever they pay higher, we have to pay higher. So it happened last year and I have this feeling that it's going to happen in 2025.
I have that feeling.
Yeah, thoughts? Yeah,
I have that feeling, we were in a Proposition 2.5 world on the town side of the budget and, local aid only goes up 1.5% a year on average and, the school budget increased, substantially more than that, and yet our contribution, requests went up without the funds. And if that happens again, this year will be very difficult for us.
yeah, absolutely. So what would your recommendation be to the select board at this point? Just to do a letter requesting that we get together and chat about this?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to pay as much as we did last year.
Yeah, entertain a motion to recommend that the select board and an advisory member or members meet with the Narragansett Regional School District, Dr. Casamant, to work on FY 25 budget sooner rather than later. Just like, Jeff and I have always said, they send us a bill and we have to pay it. So same with Monty Tech. So if we can communicate effectively with our partners in the school district and don't bill us over this much. And let's be reasonable here. $800,000 is pretty outrageous, but I think, working that, I think sooner rather than later. I also know that there was a message put out that there used to be a monthly and a quarterly meeting that the select board member, the advisory member and the school committee member and Dr. Casamant met each month. That was actually resubmitted by Dr. Casamant. I was actually on the email trail. I said, yeah, I recommend that as well. I know that the town was looking at quarterly, which I'm okay with that as well. But I think we should start meeting with them quarterly to talk about things moving forward. And discussion of, how, budgets work and how budgets are gonna be and how each position stand, because they have, they're what they need to do, and we have what we need to do. And, obviously what we need to do is we need to, take care of our partners, but also take care of the community as well. So I got that recommendation. Do I have a second? Did I do a motion? Recommend the select board advisory with the Dr. Casamant work on the FY 25 budget sooner rather than later, set up a potential meeting.
Do we have a motion?
Huh?
Yeah, speaking of motion,
I'm making the motion. Oh, okay.
no second.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. I have to have a second.
I second
Oh, you did. Okay, great. Yes,
No. Yes.
excellent. You're confusing me. Stop it. You're confusing.
Been a
me.
long day, man. It's
Man,
been
come
a long
on.
day.
I mean, this is our first meeting back. We have a lot of work to do. The town depends on us, you know.
You're the one that's delirious, not me.
We're trying to do the right things here.
You're the one.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Can you just say that out loud? Listen to me. All right, don't do the knife hand. All right, so I made a recommendation to have a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes,
No.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Excellent.
still outrank you.
Oh, wow. Wow, it comes to that now. Okay, the last thing on the recommend a plan of action for the school football field and track situation based on use of grants, regional district money, Phillipson, Templeton contributions, and how. That was me.
Let's just we table that for a month.
Sure.
That's why
Yes.
it's still here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What?
You want to, let's take, oh, we're gonna table that, sorry.
But I just get a lot.
Come on up here and sit down and say something.
No, I just want to say that Fitchburg just got, a thing recently, if you go and look, and they got money for the football field from Gillette. There was been a grant. There are many grants out there. You have to look for them. In the past, I've been following it, but now I've been doing all things Parks and Rec, so I haven't had a chance. I used to follow it all the time.
Yep.
Because I know that track at Narragansett has needed it for many, many years. It is in so bad shape.
It's not usable.
It's not. It's like you can't even jump one, you can't even say, well, if you're in field, in lane 1, 2, it's like, it's horrendous. And the shot put for years was hitting the track, so that wasn't helpful because they didn't have the proper stuff to protect it from that area. I mean,
What-
but there were grants out there. There have been grants for many years in Parks and Rec, in the rec end where you could get a grant for a track, but if you were a school, you can't find a grant because there's more need for a school. So there were more grants, but you would have to put it on a property that would be, that the Park and Rec would be in it. Now, since the last couple of years, I've noticed that those have disintegrated, they've gone away. But now you're starting to see things like, you're seeing, in Gillette State, the Patriots, their organization giving out money now. They gave quite a bit out in the last year, and Fitchburg was one of them for that one in Fitchburg. And so you have to look for the money. It's out there, and it could be a sport too. So you could have, because I was trying to see like some organizations, sometimes tennis will give you a note to the tennis organization, or you have, it could be soccer. They could be wanting to, because they want to expand people's love of that sport. So you can find those grants in that, but you have to take the time and look for them, but they're out there, and there are different forms of them. But I feel like the school needs to go out there and actively look for some of these, because, the Fitchburg one, I didn't even know, it just came out of nowhere. I was completely shocked they got it. Like,
Right.
It's like, so it's like, will they give more of those out? Is that a one-time deal? I don't know. I didn't go follow it to see on how they, if that's something they're going to be regularly doing. Because if they are, then they should totally go and apply for that.
But my recommendation I'd like to at least get to the select board would be that obviously every field around us is now AstroTurf because it's low maintenance. It's got a 10 to 25 year life on it, and obviously in the review, huh?
AstroTurf doesn't exist anymore.
What is that called? That
Prescription turf.
Yeah.
prescription turf.
Never.
All right, Sergeant Major, thanks. Thanks for correcting me. Well, I think it's important because if everybody around us has the same, except Monty Tech at this point, but like Ashburnham or Baja, I think it's important. And again, it's great on maintenance, and I guess the track can be
The track, yeah.
around the
It-
football field.
So when they
This
replaced
could
the,
almost
they
go
replaced the
without.
track
Yeah.
they replaced the track at Gardner. The track they replaced was in better shape, 10 times better shape than what Narragansett's is at the point it is
Well,
when they replaced
the
it.
recommendation is not to keep the track where it is to
Right.
bring the track up to
Up
the
the
football.
top, that's
field.
where it should be.
That's
Yeah,
exactly where it
it's
should be.
exactly should be.
That's
It
right.
should be up in the
That's the
top of the
recommendation.
football. Yeah,
And that would be the entire,
Right.
track and field situation. The bleachers were all just redone,
right.
which the school went out and got that loan, which was great. But again, utilizing, like I said, grants,
Yeah,
regional district school monies, Phillips and Templeton contributions. We all have to buy into this.
right.
We all have to sit at the table and say, hey, this is the best thing for our kids. This is what we need to do because right now there's no track. There's, and the school can only do so much based on the law. They can only go after so much dollars based on what the statute requires them to do. The town, we have our levy limits. Obviously, we have our abilities too, what we can do. There's only so much we can do. But I think collectively, if we get to the same table and communicate that effectively, I think we can come up with a plan of action, that this can potentially be done. Collectively, I mean, through all parties involved, because at the end of the day, it's for the kids, and I think, and they need the football field, they need the track, they need these things. I mean, it's, we have that needs and wants. Do we want it or do we need it? I mean, we're at the point right now where it's needed. It's not just wanted, it's needed.
Well, Narragansett has a huge history in track and field, and we've had some incredible athletes that come out of that sport.
Mhm.
It is a wonderful sport on how kids are. You get some of the most top educational students. They're mostly, you see them in the honor societies and stuff like that. It's just, it's a wonderful sport. And the thing I love about track is that you don't have to be the best to do it too. And there's lots of things for lots of different people. And the football, it's just, people love it. And I mean, the thing is, you have to be able to take care of it too. It has to be maintained. But it's interesting going to see what the other communities do, if they're washing them correctly and stuff. Because I've seen what happened, some of the issues with UMass Lowell and theirs. And of course, theirs was a lot older at the time,
Mhm.
but you got to make sure you clean them.
Right. Well,
Take
thank you,
care of
James. My recommendation at this point would be to write a letter to the Board of Selectmen to request a meeting with this regional school district, Dr. Casavant, concerning the track and football field recommendations that we can move going forward to find dollars in order to hopefully sustain that. My motion.
I would second it as presented.
Okay, excellent. Any other discussion concerning that? I know we did a lot of recommendations here because that's what we do. And I want the people to realize that, I mean, our hands are somewhat tied to a certain degree, and we are going to move forward with these recommendations to the select board. I know they're going to get them. And then hopefully we'll have some action on these, and sorry for the late night. I do apologize. Anyway, so Mike, how do you vote? Yes. No?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, any correspondence, Jackie? No, okay, excellent. Any old business? We don't get any. Excellent. Member comments at this time? Mike? No.
No.
Did you just say no? Oh, my Lord. All right, Mike, thank you for that. Noel?
No.
And I have one comment, and my comment after talking all night is this. We are down 2 members. Maybe down another one someday soon. We need volunteers. This town does not run itself. We need volunteers to help. We do this for nothing because we love this community. And we need people to come and help us. It's looking at papers, looking at numbers, coming them up with ideas and recommendations for the select board to channel and hopefully help them do their job to make this community better for everybody. But we need volunteers. We just need help, and we can't do it ourselves. And with all the new memberships that are coming into town, all the new families, I'm sure that somebody out there who has an interest in finance or would like to learn about, town finance, and just come on board and check it out. And that's all I have. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mike?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And I vote